number 2 of 2022 be continued with vote 4, Free State Provincial Treasury.
The vote before the House is vote 4, Free State Provincial Treasury. The Honorable MEC Brown may address the House.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker Malusi Mapena, the Speaker in her absence, Honourable Premier Melissa Ntombela, members of the Executive Council, members of the Provincial Legislature, there are speakers of the municipality in the House, leadership of political parties, specifically the political party who has deployed me, the African National Congress, the Director General of the province and HOD Mercy Singh, the Commissioner of Public Service Commission who was here, esteemed ladies and gentlemen, and to everyone who is listening over the virtual platforms. Dumela, Moweni, good day, and I greet you in the universal language of peace. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Honourable Speaker, Muslims across the country and worldwide are observing in a month of fasting, prayer, reflection and community. Today is the 10th day of Ramadan. As we are practicing Islam and wearing hijab, which means that my head is closed, no hair, no neck, we are wearing hijab freely in this country, in peace. And it reminds us to thank this democratic government and the African National Congress for the Freedom Charter, in which all South Africans have a freedom of religion. I thank you. It is why, Honourable Deputy Speaker, that I am honoured to present this budget vote in a year when we can celebrate the 110th anniversary of our beloved African National Congress, and in the month in which we commemorate and celebrate Freedom Day. Whilst we celebrate our freedom and the progress that we've made, we are also keenly aware of the challenges that remain. As so eloquently put in the January 8th statement, the world, our country and our organization continues to traverse an extremely complex and challenging period, which has brought into stark relief many of the fundamental social, economic, political and psychosocial challenges and fault lines in our society. The challenges are vast, we do not shy away from them. Honourable Deputy Speaker, because as a governing party, and I quote, our mission has always been to serve the people of this great nation and to ensure that a better life for all steadily but surely becomes a lived reality. Even in this difficult environment, we can and must do more, better and faster, close quote. Honourable Deputy Speaker, one example of a government institution that embodies doing more with less is the South African Revenue Services. Please join me in congratulating the Commissioner and his entire team on the collection of 16.7 billion more than which was anticipated or estimated. It is indeed an outstanding achievement that will assist government to reduce debt to GDP ratio and effectively serve the people of this country. Honourable Speaker, as I presented the provincial budget speech on the 10th of March this year, Provincial Treasury as a department traditionally does not render services directly to the public, as we are at the centre of monitoring and conducting oversight over the provincial government's transformation and economic development agenda. We are the support department, thus during this financial year, which is 2022-23, Provincial Treasury has appropriated an amount of 317.266 million. This represents a reduction of 4.3% compared to the previous financial year, and it is a result of the Provincial Treasury no longer being responsible for procurement of PPEs. Honourable Deputy Speaker, the department effectively has programs to execute the support oversight monitoring work. Program 1 Administration, we've allocated 113.687 million. To Program 2, Sustainable Resource Management, 55.639 million. To Program 3, Asset and Liabilities Management, 62.410 million. Program 4, Financial Governance, 29.963 million. Program 5, Municipal Finance Management, which we've just re-established and reallocated key performances to, which is 55.567 million, making that total 317.26 million. Honourable Speaker, Deputy Speaker, that's the crux of my presentation today. And I would love to, with this time provided to me, allow me to highlight some of the work that we are doing. And in terms of this, it will talk to the plans, it will talk to the structure of those programs, and it will talk to some of the successes and additional plans that we wish to do over this next financial year. Deputy Speaker, Administration Program 1 is responsible and is the crux of Provincial Treasury. It provides support services to enable all other programs within the department to pursue their mandates. This program comprises of the MEC's office, HOD's office, CFO and the entire finance component, risk, internal audit, corporate services, IT and communications. The focus this year, for example, just highlighting 3 focus, there are many other transactional work that this unit does on a daily basis. I don't have to outline all of them, but 3 focus in this program, and I want to talk about consequence management. So what we did in this department, as we're building and government's commitment on building the capable, ethical and development state, during the previous financial year, all cases of unauthorized, irregular and fruitless and wasteful expenditure were investigated in Treasury. And it shows that we do take compliance as Treasury. We want to steer that program, and we are definitely supporting and adhering to laws and regulations within the PFMA and within the sphere of our government. Part of some of the consequence management work that we do is training managers on performance management, disciplinary management, performance assessments, dealing with discipline. Some of the training talks to guides to fair disciplinary practice where they're going on training, and in this way we deal with some of the cases in terms of disciplinary cases within the 6 months as it's prescribed. I thought it would also be astute for me to talk about cost of employees, because it was placed in the bigger budget. Our cost of employees in the province is 63%. We want to reduce it to 60%. This department's allocation and work towards it as a lean and clean and mean department, we ensure that there are critical vacancies that have been outlined of the approved and funded structure by the DPSA. So this year we've got 32 critical vacancies that need to be filled, and in which we should do it within this new financial year. It's budgeted for, it's approved. And on the 1st of March this year, we appointed 13 interns and 7 experiential learners that provides young graduates an opportunity to deal with practical work experience, and it also benefits the department to benefit from a fresh perspective. This comes from the 2% skills levy. Innovation is important across the board in government, but within Treasury, we're looking to roll out a business intelligence reporting system in this financial year. It will enable us to share accurate reports not only with Premier but across all executive authorities who has to do the oversight. It also talks to government spending, the lack of expenditure. It's been raised in many committees that Treasury needs to be more robust in analysing slow spending within departments. So that's what the system would do, and 30-day payments and supplier information, so it will make all that information accessible. In terms of a special program, so outreach program that the MEC's office would like to embark on, we presented it last year. Due to COVID, it wasn't possible, but this year we're doing empowering youth on financial literacy programs, and that financial literacy programs will help future generations to understand how money is made, empower them to make smart lending, investing, savings, and other financial decisions. And the department's not spending much funding on this because we're working with partners in financial sectors, institutions, and CETAs on skill development. Program 2 on sustainable resource management. The principal role of this program is to prepare the provincial budget as well to monitor implementation of those requirements in Section 18.1 of subsection 1 of the Public Finance Management Act. And part of it is economic analysis. We'll embark on 2 recent studies or research studies this year that will impact and inform our provincial budget policy decisions. We will also do a research colloquium, which we've done many years in the past, and due to COVID again last year, we had many virtual ones. This year we will do a very strategic and high-level research colloquium with relevant partners that is from academics both in the province and nationally. And we want to bring academic minds across into the Free State and really assist us with some of our economic challenges to provide credible papers to those departments who require that support. Research publications, and this informs the budget speech, and it also goes with you when you have the budget speech. It's the Provincial Economic Review and Outlook, as well as the Municipality or the Municipal Socio-Economic Review and Outlook. It's evidence-based. It's a critical policy principle for Free State government, and it also ensures that we are able to budget and deal with delivery of high impact in this province. Provincial revenue is a critical program and a subject within our department. So we've got a team within the department that looks after every department. They sit down with every department and deal with revenue collection, revenue enhancement initiatives. But we've also got a task team that makes sure that we could look at more innovative and new ways of generating revenue. Because of our fiscal challenges, our country's expenses is much higher than the revenue that we're collecting, and this way the province can also bridge that gap to ensure that we have reserve funding to deal with other pressures. In terms of those cash and revenue, Free State Provincial Treasury has got a control management system on cash. So what we do is we invest whatever cash is not required in a month, and we have been able to collect 29.7 million due to this control system that we're utilizing in investing that cash, and we generate interest income instead of borrowing like we did in the past. In the past we borrowed, and I can give you on cash management, in 2019 by the end of December we were negative 651 million as Provincial Treasury borrowed funds in the past. In 2020, we were positive 240 million in December, and in 2021, we were positive 102 million in December. So that was able to bring us investment income, and we were able to generate some revenue. And as we stand today, we have spent all of our budgets as provincial government, and all departments have spent accordingly. In terms of budget management, this is a program that deals with the budget allocations and making sure that we deal with expenditure too. So we work through Budget Council together with EXCO, Budget Lekotla together with EXCO. We deal with public participations in terms of presenting our budgets to the public. We do an annual budget workshop. We do provincial medium-term expenditure committee meetings with departments and all entities. And this is bilaterals on conditional grants, infrastructure, and revenue. On public finance and financial asset management, we will continue, Honourable Deputy Speaker, in our oversight to ensure monitoring and spending is in line with the financial resources allocated to each department. So each department cannot willy-nilly transfer between each other. They appropriate it, there's vyment processes, there's shifting, there's laws. So we deal with this in line with the plans and channeling these funds towards government priorities. We also deal with National Treasury regulations, cost containment measures, and we also try and optimize to ensure that innovative ways where we can do more with less. Honourable Deputy Speaker, on infrastructure monitoring financial performance, you're going to ask what is the difference to what the Premier is doing, what is the difference to what Treasury is doing. Treasury is going to deal with the oversight on the financial controls of infrastructure and the monitoring and evaluation of infrastructure in terms of the overruns, in terms of the variation orders, increasing of scope within projects. It's a national treasury requirement in line with the National Treasury plans to manage infrastructure. But apart from that, we also monitor, evaluate and provide support on public-private partnerships, your build, operate, transfer support. It requires National Treasury approval, so we deal with those applications. And part of the 4.5 billion infrastructure funding that we had placed, Treasury has got a responsibility to ensure that the funding towards those projects are dealt accordingly, and we look at the quality of service delivery and the quality of our provincial infrastructure investment. Honourable Deputy Speaker, on compensation management, once again, we don't only look internally within the department, we look at all departments together with the Office of the Premier, as they are the custodian of the overview of organograms that go to DPSA. But in terms of human resources, we have an initiative where all new appointments come through the Office of Provincial Treasury, which we have to sign as Treasury MEC Executive Authority. So the team within this department looks at the budget, they look at the allocated funds, they look at the organogram if it's been approved, they deal with the due diligence, and then they recommend it to the Executive Authority of Treasury. They make sure that the budget is there, it goes then to the relevant department, and PARSAL system is also approved by the Honourable Premier and myself to ensure that we deal with any non-compliant, or if there is areas where we are just appointing willy and nilly, it comes through some sort of control to ensure that we deal with the reduction of 63% COE to 60%. So we also do the redundant, we look at eradicating redundant positions, identifying excess staff, duplicated functions in the establishment. We assist with reskilling and allocating new functions to existing officials depending on the changes within those functions, job evaluations and so on. On Program 3, Honourable Deputy Speaker, the Asset and Liabilities Management Program is responsible for providing policy direction and facilitating effective and efficient management of assets, liabilities and financial management systems within the province. I'm also going to highlight some of the work that they're doing on supply chain. They support departments, they deal with quarterly supply chain sessions. We work closely with AGSA in terms of those flaws and non-compliance issues per department. We deal with National Treasury, the changes in National Treasury regulations. And we, as you would know, that the decisions on supply chain also give expression to government policy and strategies to support business development. So we manage that, we manage the economic outlook, and we utilize local procurement as a tool in order to assist local businesses and stimulate the Free State provincial economy. But as some members, through you, Deputy Speaker, are aware that the Constitutional Court declared the 2017 preferential procurement regulations unlawful, and I can state that as of today, draft regulations were issued for comments and they closed on the 12th of April 2022, and we as Provincial Treasury, based on the guidance sought by the Minister, we still provide and continue to assist departments with exemption requests where there are requirements and procurement matters needed. Further guidance will be communicated once the process from the legislatory environment is finalized. On supply development, Honourable Deputy Speaker, we hold department programs, we assist suppliers, so we do outreach programs to local municipalities to assist suppliers in terms of tax compliance, completion of bids, how to deal with CSD, how to get their M numbers, how to look at e-portal, completing and registering complaints. On behalf of suppliers, we also assist departments in terms of the technical matters that require to go to National Treasury for uplifting CSD requirements. And that also forms part of our outreach program as Treasury to ensure that we empower local businesses and upcoming businesses in this environment on compliance and tax-related matters to do work with government and municipalities. On the payment of supplies within 30 days, we are very happy as a province that we have seen significant changes and improvement in this regard, especially the Department of Health. So in the last year, February 2021, we looked at 4,089 outstanding invoices that were due to be paid to suppliers during that time. And in February 2022, we came to 1,946. And why are we saying that it is still a concern for the province? Because it deals with the liquidity of our province, it deals with accruals, and we have to ensure that the funding is available should and when that supplier come in with clarification on the work that they've done in order for that payment to happen. Program 4 on financial governance, and here we work with Chapter 9 institutions, we work with Audit, so we work with the AGSA, we work with various partners, forensic and other audit departments, accounting services, we also work with legal fraternities, and this program is to promote accountability through substantive reflection of financial activities across the province, as well as the financial norms and standards. So from an audit outcome perspective, in the main budget, we spoke about how we're seeing some changes from a positive perspective happening within the audits of departments, and we're happy to report that through the dedication and assistance of all units within Treasury as well as units within those departments, a number of audit qualifications and disclaimer paragraphs have improved. So some of them have been reduced by 29% from 29% this year in comparison to last year, 2019-20, and 22 to the 2021. So 29% in the previous year, 31 in 2019-20, and then 22 in 2021. The total number of non-compliance laws and regulations by departments also reduced from 169 in 2019-2020 to 161 in 2020-21. Fleet management received a clean audit, and no other department in the province received a disclaimer audit. And we will still utilize some of the work which I'll outline just now to support departments to ensure that we reach more clean audits and we see more improvements in the province. So the team, which we call the Audit Outcomes Team and Support Team, look at 15 fundamental principles, and I'm not going through all 15. They look at the financial statements and the quality. They look at work files. They look at portfolio of evidence. They deal with meetings. They do one-on-one training. They deal with the reconciliation of various funds, deal with journals, classification issues, reports to MECs so that MECs can get more involved in making sure that there's compliance. But I'm going to touch on a few in terms of some of that work that has borne some fruit. So a total of 698 findings, which included new and repeat findings, were raised in the assessment by departments in 2021. And out of that 698, or we could say 97% of those findings were resolved after the submission before it went to AGSA. So this team assisted these departments to reduce the number of findings before it is submitted to the AGSA. Furthermore, a total of 275 findings, new and repeated, were raised with entities, and out of that, 83% of findings were resolved before it was submitted to the AGSA. So this quality of work and pre-assessment that Treasury does really helps departments and entities to reduce the findings before it reaches the Auditor General. In total, if we put everything together, 973 findings were raised in the financial governance assessment, and out of that, in the 2021 financial year, 93% of the findings were resolved before it went to the AGSA. So congratulations to that team. You're doing magnificent work to ensure that we deal with the critical quality and compliance that has to go to the AGSA. So Honourable Deputy Speaker, good governance, financial governance is necessary to ensure that our public funds and financial assets and liabilities are managed transparently. We are accountable, and we deal with the funding in an integral matter, meaning with integrity, in the interest of government's goals and objectives, and of course in the interest of you as the taxpayer. We will therefore continue with this program to ensure that we continue to assist every department in this province. On risk management and audit, we've also facilitated a program where the team goes out to provincial departments and we look at the effective systems in each department on their risk management strategies, which are high, medium and low, how to mitigate the risk, which should be there, which shouldn't be there. We look at the external environment and we're able to assist them with some of the risk mitigation measures. And in this way, we've also been able to beef up some of our accounting officers, chief executive officers, the accounting authorities and executive authorities on assisting with this type of work. Risk management committees and audit committees are also centralized through Treasury to support one function in terms of a framework based on the standards, based on legislation, and that framework and standards are then deployed through the share service committees, which are in those specific departments. And the shared audit committees in October 2021, we have a joint shared audit committee between the Office of the Premier and Treasury, Public Works and Infrastructure together with Police, Roads and Transport, Social Development with Sports, Arts, Culture and Recreation. And in this way we could manage and optimize some of the challenges that we're seeing repeating themselves within those departments and be able to address them accordingly. Other departments have their own shared committees and risk audit committees that they've appointed. On corruption, Honourable Deputy Speaker, here again we work with Chapter 9 institutions, your NPA Hawks, together with the Office of the Premier and the Director General. We deal with the public protectors' requirements, should they require information from ourselves, if there are any subpoenaed information on finances. We work very well with the Chapter 9 institutions. And we deal with certain auditors and partners as well to assist us because we do not have the capacity internally and we cannot be a referee and a player where we do oversight and act. So what we've done as Treasury, we've facilitated a national anti-corruption strategy. We're dealing with lifestyle audits as well with the Office of the Premier. We're working together. We deal with all these awareness sessions and we did them in September and November of 2021. We also have an anti-fraud awareness follow-up sessions that happened in this year in March 22, and we assist and assess the methodology on fraud and ethics and risk management that has come to us and provide guidelines like a blueprint to all departments in the province to make sure that the fraud and ethics risk management is then instituted within each department together with the Office of the Premier. And we furthermore have effective systems on anti-fraud management and ethics management together with the AGSA, and ensuring that we have adequate processes to increase that accountability, capacity and effective implementation of consequence management. In partnership with the Office of the Premier, we had a call for a panel of professional forensics experts, which is introduced. So these experts go and do an assessment on a specific matter that is raised either by the public or internally. And we intend to appoint these service providers during the first quarter of this financial year to back up and support the Office of the Premier and ourselves in that work that we're doing. On the last program, Honourable Deputy Speaker, which is the Municipal Finance Management, there are some functions that we brought in that is new on the basis that local government had been a challenge from a compliance and a financial perspective over many, many years. And also further to that, we've just have a new intake of the 6th administration, which we'd like to induct and make sure that we deal on compliance and those managements very differently as we had in the previous administrations. So this program provides oversight, technical support, guidance to assist with financial resources. So our role, and we've got an MOU between COCTA and ourselves, our role as Treasury is on the finance component and the compliance component to MFMA, whilst COCTA's program deals with service delivery and the entire component there. So we do municipal recovery services. We also assist the AGSA, similarly like we do with Province, with supply chain management and revenue and debt management. But I'd like to talk a little bit about revenue management because that has become a challenge, and specifically due to COVID. Here we're looking at collection ratios, we're looking at variances, we're looking at mobilities in order to increase revenue enhancement. We talk about stimulating the economy. We deal with the equitable share and how to turn that into revenue collection. We're looking at innovation on revenue enhancement programs within municipalities where they can get additional funding to ensure that from the Division of Revenue Act that they do comply but also provide that necessary support where there are municipalities in financial distress. On the municipal budget, we work with municipalities on the IDP processes. We ensure that every municipality has to comply by providing a funded budget before they present their budget speeches. A National Treasury would not transfer that equitable share if there's no funded budget to a municipality. So our role there is to assist, deal with the technical details, the financial statements, the revenue programs. We assist on IDP plans. Assist on a 2, 3-year, 5-year plan to make sure that we capacitate these delegated officials within municipalities to make sure that that budget is a balanced budget and a funded budget. On accounting services within municipalities, this talks to compliance, and this is your reporting, the sustainability of monitoring and evaluation on compliance and accounting frameworks. We're talking about the implementation of MSCOA across all municipalities, and we're seeing that that has become a lot better in terms of compliance over this past year. Here we're working with the information on MSCOA so that the NCOP can have information, that your provincial legislature members can have information. The Premier, at the touch of a fingertip, COCTA, Treasury and National has information on MSCOA and data strings within municipalities so we could manage the challenges that we have there. Municipal internal audit and risk management sub-programs, and our impacts are very, very critical here. So it has to be strengthened, and our team is ensuring that the appointments of those committees are dealt in compliance with the law, and that we also monitor that they sit on a regular basis, and we ensure that those reports do go to council on a regular basis so that we can have an improvement in the turnaround strategy of the financial management practices to comply with good governance within municipalities. On finance management, we deal with the support, so we manage grants, we assist with the expenditure. There are a few municipalities that are no longer using conditional grants to pay salaries. It happened in the past. This intervention was able to pick those matters up and ensure municipalities stop doing that. We've also got a few municipalities now that have been able to pay up their third parties due to some of the work that Treasury and COCTA has done to manage those processes. Congratulations to all those municipalities who have complied over this past couple of months. On municipal audit outcomes, we call it review, redress, implement and create and deal with controls. So here much work has been done and will continue to be done. There's still a lot of work from an AGSA perspective. We are still very, very behind, but we can see and encourage a change in the way we're seeing these audit outcomes. We see a steady decrease in the number of disclaimers and adverse opinions at municipalities. So 2016-17, the province had 7 disclaimers in municipalities, whilst we had 1 adverse opinion. In the 2019-20 financial year, that was the adverse opinion. And in that same year, there were 3 disclaimers. For 2020-21, no disclaimers were reported to date, no adverse opinions. So congratulations to the team and municipalities for that work. The chairpersons, once again, Honourable Deputy Speaker, is critical to ensure that impact sit, it goes to council. We are managing the challenges with regards to the outstanding work that needs to happen from management reports and AGSA reports. So we deal with those unauthorized, irregular, wasteful and fruitless expenditure in a similar way that we're assisting departments. We've now also created a unit to be able to assist municipalities in working on those registers, the loss and control registers, making sure they are investigated, understanding what's a loss, understanding where it needs to be disciplinary management or consequence management, other matters where we have process control, they need to be able to do that. Lastly, in this section, capacity building is effective for governance and a key driver for change. So here, Honourable Deputy Speaker, Provincial Treasury and COCTA, SALGA, as well as other institutions have instituted or commenced an integrated councillor portfolio training from the 8th to the 30th of March on the back of an integrated councillor induction program that was also established in February 2022 for the new councillors. So here we assisted them with oversight leadership in respect of key portfolio committees, and those committees go to council, legislation that is applicable to local government, municipal budget processes, and MSCOA and service delivery processes. We do applaud the initiative as well, something additional. So COCTA, LG-CETA, and Central University of Technology will provide a formal training to the Troika of all municipalities, an NQF Level 6 program, where we support this program. Each mayor, speaker, chief whip, and other councillors, together with MNs and senior management in municipalities, will come out with an NQF Level 6 degree, and that is something magnificent that this government is able to give our people. Congratulations. Honourable Speaker, Provincial Treasury and Assistant Department, COCTA, will also do roadshows to ensure that everything that I've raised above and more, that is our role jointly, we will go and embark on these municipal roadshows, sit down with the leadership of those municipalities and institute and reinforce. So nothing in change management doesn't come with reinforcement. So we can give them the tools, the ability to learn, the ability to have the knowledge, but we have to reinforce it. And in this way, these roadshows will deal with good governance, accountability, oversight, financial management, and service delivery. In conclusion, Honourable Deputy Speaker, allow me to mention, and I think all speakers today have mentioned the significance of this month of April. The famous Rivonia trial speech took place on the 20th of April in 1964, and it was then when former President Nelson Mandela said he was willing to die for freedom in South Africa. He was also speaking on behalf of his fellow trialists. Born today, happy birthday, Msholozi, our President, Jacob Zuma, who was the 4th President of South Africa, joined the ANC in 1959, was a Robben Island political prisoner, and went to exile in 1975. I'm just highlighting the challenges and the struggles of our leaders. It was in April 1993 we lost Comrade Chris Hani, who was assassinated in front of his children, brutally. A leader of the South African Communist Party and a fierce opponent of the apartheid government. And he said, and I quote, "We need to create pathways to give hope to our youth, that they can have the opportunity through education and hard work to escape the trap of poverty." And I close quote. It is in this month, in April, that we lost Comrade Oliver Tambo, our party president, who served as the president between 1967 and 1991. And he famously quoted, and I open quote, "We are not fighting against people. We are fighting against the system." Close quote. Honourable Deputy Speaker, I want us to remember those words. Deputy Speaker, Comrade Solomon Mahlangu, who was hanged this month and in his spirit still lives. His spirit still lives with all of us, but not only with all of us, with the youth of this country. And Comrade Mahlangu, we will continue the struggle, my leader. Our mother of our nation, Mama Winnie Madikizela Mandela, died on the 2nd of April in 2018. Mama, you have multiplied in all of us. Honourable Speaker, it is during this month we celebrate Freedom Day. But it is also in April, as was outlined earlier, when the colonizers arrived in this country. It is also on the 7th of April in 1936 that the representation of the Natives Bill passed, which brought about the Natives Land Trust, number 18, into law. It also established the South African Native Trust. It became the Bantu Trust and then the Development Trust. This forbade us natives to own land, and in the time black people could only own 7.3% to 13% of land. And that is the history of the past that's creating these structural and systemic issues today. Honourable Speaker, it was Mama Charlotte Matreke, who was also born in this month, a social and political advocate who challenged unjust laws against black people, specifically women. Honourable Speaker, it is also her activism that was motivated by not by the lure of high political offices, but by activism. And there are some women out there today that embody Mama Matreke. It is on the April 8th, Honourable Speaker, that Comrade Helen Joseph, a white comrade of ours, who stood by us, she was an anti-apartheid activist, aghast at the plight of black women that was playing a huge role in that apartheid area. Along with Lillian Ngoyi, she was part of the formation of the Federation of South African Women. She was part of the leadership, and she was a member of those women who spearheaded the march of 20 women on the 9th of August in 1956 to the Union Buildings. Honourable Speaker, it is this month, the 26th and the 29th of April 1994, that South Africa held its first democratic elections. So, Honourable Speaker, coming full circle, today is the 12th of April 2022. It is in April that we complete the process of our budget votes and we begin this new financial year. We are the ANC-led Free State Provincial Government. We all, as members of Executive Council, pledge to our past leaders that I have mentioned today that this government, we are committed to ensure that this financial resources are utilized effectively to serve our people in the much-needed economic transformation. We stand together in support of the ideology of our struggle. We want to thank Honourable Premier, the chairperson of the committees. I'd like to thank the African National Congress, the HOD and Team Treasury, but in closing, I'd like to say, Honourable Speaker, governance, prudent financial services, service delivery, economic growth, pro-policy, the people of the province, unemployment, poverty, inequality is not only government's business, it is all of our business. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable MEC. Honourable Chairperson of the committee may address the House, Honourable Meko.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Honourable Chief, just pause. Honourable Clemens, what is your point of order?
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. There's something that I just want to clarify. For the second time today, the MEC spoke about the local government new 6th administration. It's actually not the 6th administration, it's the 5th administration of local government. It is indeed the 6th administration of local government and provincial and national. That's because provincial and nationals who had their first election in 1994, whereas local government first election was only in 2001. So that is just a correction.
Honourable Taylors, now you are debating. Honourable Chief Whip, continue.
I don't know. Okay.
Speaker, thank you very much. Protocol observed. The ANC welcomes the presentation by the MEC on the Treasury budget votes. Speaker, the Department of Treasury is the one that provided us with the provincial budget, and it is responsible for its implementation. We want to indicate that provincial budget is part and parcel of the overall national and provincial government finances. Quite a very strategic and important national duty. And of course, we place an emphasis that it is a political task. We want to go further to indicate that government finances and how they are arranged in the form of budget are a lifeblood of a governance system, without which there will be no country to govern and there will be no nation to feed. The same way, the importance of political willingness and financial prudence cannot be overemphasized, MEC Kadisha. As you would know that Auditor General always and passionately articulate the importance of the two. So supporting efficient and sustainable public financial management is fundamental to the promotion of economic development. In other words, finances are not a standalone. There's a strong relationship, Premier, between what you outlined to be the annual program of the provincial government or the entirety of the province and the corresponding task of the finances, MEC Kadija. It is also good for good governance, for social progress and a rising standard of living for all South Africans. The Constitution of our country mandates Treasury to ensure transparency, accountability, sound financial controls in the management of public finances. These are public finances to ensure that we improve the quality of the lives of our people. And that's why we want to take a moment and joy in saluting the Chief of Staff, Chris Tembekile Hani. Tembezile, thank you, who taught us about what does the revolution entails. In summary, he said the revolution is the people of Kaelisha who are still staying in shacks. He said the revolution is the people of Alexandra who are staying next to a wealthy Santi. He said to us that the revolution is the people of Kwakwa who are struggling with water and electricity. And your budget, MEC Kadisha, outlines our plans around how the management of finances in the province are carried out in a manner that we don't depart away from the set objectives, of course, in line with what SOPA has said, in line with what all departments have said are going to do with regard to the goal of improving the quality of the lives of our people. MEC Kadija, on the municipal finance and audit, your continued and focused and increased allocation to support departments and municipalities as well as entities towards improving financial accountability and sustainability is welcome, because our understanding is that financial discipline, although does not guarantee service delivery, but it is an enabler to ensure that there is service delivery. We're particularly happy about intervention measures and support provided to municipalities because municipalities remain a coalface of service delivery. All the service delivery pressures, all the expectations of our people, any other thing that our communities believes is due to them in terms of service delivery, it is blamed on municipalities. And it's a reality that this is precisely because we have not yet gone deeper to educate our people about the demarcation of responsibilities with regard to the three spheres of government. Any other thing, including when they want houses, not in the case of metros, they think that municipalities are the ones that must provide that water for them. So it is the understanding of the ANC that yes, it is true and correct that financial discipline, MEC Kadija, it is important, and our belief is that if our municipalities can adhere to financial discipline, they will come closer to ensuring that there is service delivery at the level of municipalities, government closest to the people, of course, areas which they are responsible for. Of the 23 municipalities in the province, Free State Provincial Treasury monitors about 22 municipality finances as required by Municipal Finance Management Act. And the majority of these municipalities are small, are rural, with relatively small MIGs, and a decrease, of course, continuously of the equitable shares towards them, which, as a result of the migration of people from these under-depressed economic areas where these municipalities are located, to municipalities, of course, which are advanced and are more developed, and there's much of economic activity and possibility of jobs unlike these other ones. The ANC, despite these challenges, continues to ensure that it has got interest about the lives of the people who are living in these municipalities, unlike the Democratic Alliance. Throughout, the DA does not contest these small municipalities precisely because they know that the challenges faced by the people in these municipalities are not easy to resolve. And that's because they don't stand and represent the people. But the ANC continue to contest those because its orientation is about the people and always committed towards ensuring that it is able to help our people to resolve our people. Let me see on supply chain management and supply development. The Constitution permits that all governments of the state must implement provincial procurement policy that advances people who were previously oppressed. And whilst it is stipulated that that system must be transparent, equitable, and competitive and cost-effective, but the Constitution recognizes not the ANC in terms of its politics, the Constitution of the country, which all of us must be loyal to, recognizes the history of our country and the reality of our people today. That in as much as we have inherited these problems, but even today, the manner in which our economy is being run by the small minority which are owning it continues to deepen poverty amongst our people. And hence, a mechanism like this one of procurement, preferential procurement policy of government. We want to explain to our people that we are a constitutional democracy. We respect the role and the responsibility of our courts. And we always accept any other outcome that they decide. But we think that the ruling on the PPPFA is one of those unfortunate rulings. But we also welcome the fact that the court has suspended the implementation of the procurement preferential policy, but did not discard it, only on the basis of the amendment in 2017 of the pre-qualification criteria. And government is still expected, because in terms of the law, is that the law can only be set aside for a year. So government is busy, it is in the process of ensuring that can't we restructure this intervention differently, such that this policy can remain to be in place. So there's no trace match. This process continues to be engaged, and indeed we believe that it will not abandon our agenda of transformation. Together with that is the 30 days payment MEC Kadisha. That it is one of the strategic mechanisms which we think that if it can be implemented in full premier, it will go a long way to ensuring that we don't become self-defeatist, that we have brought about all these good things, and yet there will be one or two which are frustrating. A full implementation of what we want to achieve, the transformation of the economy, the PPP and FA, including the character of our supply chain, will take us closer to ensuring that indeed we introduce those who have been excluded to be part of the economy. And it is precisely the reason, because the SMMEs are the ones that falls within that category of those who are frustrated, have been taken out of business premier as a result of the late payment. And the reason why we must jealously guard against their destruction is because these are business people who are not only loyal to the objectives of their country, We did say it. It is now common knowledge that SMMEs are the ones that are in the forefront for the creation of jobs as opposed to your established capital. And we must jealously cut against them because they still love the poor of our people because they come from that background. So the promotion of SMMEs, MEC Khadija, through programs, but as well as prioritizing them in terms of payment, must not be compromised because it is yet another creative approach of ensuring that we don't abandon the agenda of transformation and our people are being elevated to ensure that, and that will be in line with the yearnings of Chris and many of our leaders alive or who have passed, who dedicated their lives for freedom. And freedom meant nothing else, as Comrade Chris has taught us. It is about the people, and it must be for the people and by the people. And the ANC remains an instrument in the hands of our people to drive that revolutionary program. Thank you very much, Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mepu. Honorable Klute, you may address the House.
Dank u, Speaker. Ons het 'n baie geskiedenislesse gehad vandag. Deur jou, Speaker, premier, miskien moet ons eendag dalk 'n toer na die vroumonument toe vat. Nie om verskoning te maak nie om vir mense te probeer oorreed nie, net om mense te wys wat die direkte gevolg van Britse kolonialisme is, waar vrouens en kinders spykers moes eet as gevolg van die kos wat hulle in konsentrasiekampe gekry het. Dis waarteen Emily Hobbes beklei het. Maar dis in die gees van vergeet en vergewe wat ons Paasfees vier. So ons het vergeet en vergewe in daai tyd. So vir elkeen wat ook Paasfees gaan vier en naweek geseënde Paasfees. Deputy Speaker, I said it previously and I will say it again, national government's intention of Section 1397 is nothing else than a confession that provincial intervention in Mangaung and other municipalities have failed. Now, if I quote, a provincial executive cannot or does not adequately exercise the powers or perform the functions referred to in subsection 4 or 5, the national executive must intervene. That's section 139 of the Constitution. Cannot and does not adequately. Those are the key words. So there's no way to sugarcoat this reality. National government just imposed a recovery plan to recovery plan. That's the gist of it. Sinds Speaker, in die Vrystaat skuld die staat geld. Dis so maklik soos dit. Skuld die provinsiale regering aan munisipaliteite is niks nie, ons weet al vir jare. So ook met munisipaliteite se skuld aan entiteite soos Eskom. Maar liewe hemel, Speaker, Mangaung skuld sy eie entiteit Bloemwater geld. Die skuld groei in ons provinsie bloei. Lawsuits upon lawsuits to the benefit of no one. Speaker, governance here in this province, or the lack thereof, reminds of dysfunctional parents. One has been spending on spending sprees for years. The provincial government and the other turned a blind. That's the provincial government. The other turned a blind eye, which makes it equally guilty. But the other parent, national government, has finally decided to act or intervene, like we saw last week in this province. Here's a warning to this department. Continue with your spending sprees and consulting units and poor intervention track records in local government. Section 100 is imminent. Maybe not now, but in the near future. The Free State is being scrutinized with envious eyes, and slowly but surely they are drawing their plans against this province. Now the NEC might say, this will never happen. This is one faction bulging its muscles, and the war for the wallet of the Free State has started. I thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Klute. Honorable Mahasa, you may address the House.
No, thank you, Deputy Speaker. Honorable Premier, members of Executive Council, members of Legislature, Baahi ba Freestata. Lest we forget that the 6th of April, our country remembered Solomon Mahlangu, who was hanged by the apartheid regime. We won't forget. It's not an easy one to forget. Today again, we meet here just 2 days after the commemoration of the death of Martin Telisile Hani, who was murdered in cold blood by Janice Walus. Both their sins was propagation of a peaceful transition to a government that is based on the will of the people from the evil and hatred apartheid regime. Also, Mama Winnie Madikizela Mandela died this month. Indeed, Honorable Khadija, Mama Winnie will multiply and multiply until women are in charge and women are respected in this province or in the country. Today, we can proudly pronounce that their bodies may have been destroyed, but their spirit and determination was never killed. Yes, even those who were demigods then and now are sitting with us and claim to be the ambassadors of the people and also lecture us about the ethics and good governance. I would not call them demigods. Though the evidence is showing how they choose demagoguing governance issues and that being realistic about them. Provincial Treasury is strategically located to ensure compliance and strict adherence to our transformational and economic agenda. Governance is the cornerstone of sustenance of our democracy and development in general. King Four in his report describes sustainable development as the development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of the future generations to meet their needs. This means good governance is not just a fundamental necessity for development, but it is also an ethical and an economic imperative. It is befitting to applaud the MEC Khadija on building a true reflection of, and on the same breath, good governance with ethical orientation is an antithesis of corruption and maladministration. The Sustainable Resource Management Program should not only focus on socio-economic analysis, but must also focus on how our socio-economic transformation can find expression. In most cases, our progress in infrastructure development has become our worst enemy. Yes, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Our progress is our challenge at the same time. Firstly, when we develop infrastructure, it also compromises our ability to maintain what we have already developed. Secondly, the more we develop, the more our people expect from us. I am happy that the department is gradually increasing its capacity to develop a progressive budget policy that will take the above challenges into cognizance. It goes without saying that the planned annual research curriculum will play a significant role in addressing these challenges. The department should utilize whatever resources in hand to develop and maintain efficient, effective budgeting, to develop and maintain efficient and effective budgeting. We must also protect and maintain what we have developed since the introduction of democratic dispensation. Madam Deputy Speaker, unlike the previous illegitimate regime, which was only obsessed with the progress of only one racial group, the ANC focus is on the entire population. Selemong se fetileng sa ditjhelete, lefapha le sebeditse ka matla ho fokotsa mafapha a sa ikamahanyeng le melawana ya mohlahlobi kakaretso wa Afrika Borwa. Re tshepa hore Tonakgolo Khadija o tla etsa ka hohle hore selemong sena se setjha re bone fokotseho e fetang diperesente tse 29. Motsamaisi wa dipuisano ke mokgatlo wa African National Congress o beileng melao le melawana ya tsamaiso ya ditjhelete ka hare ho Afrika Borwa. Ka hoo, ho hlokahala hore ba lekgotla ba ANC ba sireletse ebile ba hlomphe melao e le melawana ya teng. Ya tsamayang ka thoko melao ena o tlameha ho otlwa ho fihlela a ipeha hantle, ho sa kgethe hore ke lehata mmoho kapa lehana puso. Motsamaisi wa dipuisano, re se ke ra leka ra lebala hore hlahlela le lla ka le leng. Ke na le boikarabelo ba ho netefatsa hore dipuo tsa rona mona Freistata di fumana hlompho eo di lokelang. Nka lakatsa ho etsa phephetso ho basebetsi mmoho le nna hore nakong eo ba sekasekang ditekanyetso tsa tshohanyetso ba etse jwalo ka puo ya Sesotho. Puo ena e bohlokwa hobane e bua ka baahi ba bangata ba Freistata, e bua ke baahi ba bangata ka hare ho Freistata. Mohlomong nako e fihlile ya hore re bue ka ho tjhentjha lebitso la Free State. Motsamaisi wa dipuisano ke mpa ke feta jwalo ka ledodana hobane sena ha se nako ya hore nka bua ka ena. The economic vision of African National Congress as the ruling party is informed by the Freedom Charter.
Honourable members. Order.
Is informed by the Freedom Charter and call that the people shall govern. The ANC government strives to construct an equal society in which there is decent work for all through racial socio-economic transformation. In this regard, significant strides have been made over the past 28 years. Corruption and maladministration threaten this ideal and can potentially reverse these gains if we do not tackle them head-on. We must welcome efforts by the Provincial Treasury to roll out the National Anti-Corruption Strategy and Lifestyle Audits. Moreover, this House must commend our Provincial Treasury for leading our public entities and other departments in raising awareness about the dire need to align their strategic documents with the National Anti-Corruption Strategy as well as Lifestyle Audit Strategy. During the past financial year, our Provincial Treasury further monitored progress made by public entities and other departments to embark on this alignment process through follow-up bilaterals. It is our strong conviction as the ANC to build and strengthen a social compact on anti-corruption that will include initiatives that discourage our officials from turning a blind eye on corruption. We are further convicted to ensure that public servants refrain from conducting business with the state. We also intend to make our tender systems more transparent, efficient, and credible. All these initiatives are directed at ensuring that we build a capable, honest, transparent government. Honourable Deputy Speaker, corruption and maladministration must be collectively fought by all of us, public representatives, officials, and society in general. We cannot realize our mission of accelerating growth and intensifying our program of racial socio-economic transformation with corruption still rearing its head in our midst. It is the ANC's mission to eradicate this scourge of corruption and championing good governance within all our public entities and government departments. Our Provincial Treasury is leading from the front in ensuring that there are adequate processes to increase accountability and effective implementation of consequence management. A panel of professionals and forensic experts has been introduced to further pursue these initiatives. Strengthening of mediums such as whistleblowing, oversight, and consequence management is fundamental in the fight against this pandemic. As the ANC government, we remain committed and vehemently fight corruption and defeat the triple challenge of inequality, unemployment, and poverty. The accelerated economic path growth can only be realized in the midst of corruption-free environment and effective anti-corruption strategy. Bomanibo. Lesedi.
Thank you, Honorable MEC. Honorable Majake, you may Order, honorable members. Order.
A ke lebohe motsamaiso wa dipuisano ke lebise hlompho ho ditho tsa lekgotla lena le bohle baeti ba rona kajeno. Ke batla ho joina my provincial secretary honorable Municipal ana re moyeng wa paseka re tsamaya tsela ya sefapano mme ke qala ka ho bua taba ena ha re tsamaya tsela eo. And then Pilato asked the crowd, who should I let go? The crowd responded by saying Barnabas, the thief. And over 2 years later, the people are still subjected to landless, while the thieves still thrive on their miseries. Baka ba nkutlwe ka ntle ka ma o tabele ya honorable Musimanga ya lokiswa ene re complain ngayo. So motsamaisi wa dipuisano re ke qale ka lokisa honorable Cleanance. Indeed honorable MEC Brown was correct. We are in the 6th administration of local government. The first democratic elections of local government happened in 1995. So 2000 was that transition came because of elections. It didn't come by accident. So it is the 6th administration. Let me start off by remembering and commemorating our struggle stalwart and anti-colonial and imperialist, the late Tembisi Lehan, who was assassinated 20 years ago on the 3rd of April 1993. He left us with this words. Let me quote for the House Deputy Speaker. Socialism is not big concept and heavy theory. Socialism is about decent shelter for those who are homeless. It is about water for those who have no safe drinking water. It is about health care. It is about life of dignity for the old. It is about a decent education for all people, for all our people. Socialism is about rolling back the tyranny of the market. As long as the economy is dominated by unelected, the privileged few, the case of socialism will still exist. Close quote. This brings us to the second point, Deputy Speaker, where Honorable Musimanga explained what we stand for. I just wanted to take it further to say we are a July movement that was inspired by the Cuban Revolution. We are a Marxist, Leninist, and Fanonian movement, and we use them as a tools of our analysis, or tools of analysis. Hence, we will continue to reject skewed economic patterns that are in favor of white monopoly capital. We will reject and continue to reject loans that we are getting as a country from International Monetary Fund and others on the basis that it continues to contribute in the skewed economic patterns in our country, which is in favor of white monopoly capital. It is not by accident that Afrifora went to court and challenged the triple BEE. We need, we need to negate the current economic situation in our country. And in order for us to negate that, so that we are able to put Afriforum and all of them to their place. Deputy Speaker, we need to start by revisiting the structural adjustment. You see, one of the problems that came with 27 April 1994 was to allow the structural adjustment to continue to exist, was to allow, secondly, not to tamper with the establishment. The establishment was not killed. The establishment is still the same. The words that April 27 brought to us was not to negate the system, as is still the case even today. And I will tell you why. At that time, we were told that we should not kill the goose that lays the golden egg. And I think that's where National Democratic Revolution went wrong. Because we were made to believe that that will scare the investors, hey, what. And then that's where we are today. And whereas we were told that there are patriotic bourgeoisies and all of that, I remember I was still in the student politics and youth league politics, ANC youth league politics. And we rejected that. We said a bourgeois is a bourgeois, le bourgeois ki le bourgeois. And the lega jene when se tsure ke mapocho. Tika o mapocho na the audacity to go to court and challenge the triple BEE, which will make us, you see, I'm not about triple BEE because Leonard promoted the tender, which we are against, because we want the state to build capacity in order to abolish tenders. But here is my point. My point is, the banalo density of the mobile triple BEE on the basis that I see the itokhina like anajwal ikhina king ikhina development anajwal department di khonu picture ha ona ntse khona ngwe tsala and all of that. So we are closely monitoring that space, and I'm sure at the rightful time we'll get into it. Deputy Speaker, I want to tell you the municipal. Wabona ka 1999, Olabana the Institute of Municipal Financial Officers. That was launched in Cape Town by the former Minister Sidney Mofumahadi. Today it is called SIGFAR. That Institute Info and the SIGFAR are the best mechanism and platform and tools that can assist governance both in local government and in the province and even in national. But because people are not interested in those things, we will continue to be in a situation where we are. That's why we will forever lobby, canvass for two tiers of state, which is national and local government, where things are happening, and get rid of provincial government because we are just coordinating. The speaker just said nationalistic is getting in municipalities like Mangahu on the basis of the section he quoted, which says the province failed. So it's an indictment also at the province. So as I am about to conclude, I want to raise the following issues, Deputy Speaker. We see the budget of this department, its allocation is about 76.93% of the entire allocation. Here the salary, really, the wages. re kopa MEC man re mo encourage hore a change situation seo. Lastly, as long as ntse re na le bo maluti a phofu, ntse re na le bo mangau, ntse re na le bo kopano local municipality, di state ntse tse leng ho tsona hana jwale, batho ba rona ba tla continue ba ntse ba sokola wena Deputy Speaker. And then unfortunately there's been an intervention ya province ayatisa changes, wabana le national ayatisa changes. I still doubt even mona mangau intervention ya national town it will make any difference. Program 5 ya department ena how do you asset liability management increase tsa botlhoko wena Deputy Speaker. We will appreciate if the MEC attend to that situation. We will really appreciate it. So we will forever canvass for state-owned bank and construction companies, because we believe those are mechanisms that are going to assist us. And then we don't want to enter into a fray. Yeah, the previous Minister Tutombeweni and Minister Gondongwan, judgment the State Bank. We will forever canvass and lobby for establishment of a State Bank. We will forever canvass and lobby for nationalization of South African Reserve Bank, as we believe it will help us. It will go a long way in terms of helping us on the issues that must happen. Lastly, Deputy Speaker, we will forever emphasize building of state capacity in order to abolish tenders and propose that the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure must be able to take forward this big project that state needs to get into in order to avoid going the route of tender system and all of that. Hence, AfriForum and them will always take you to court. Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Khadebe, you may address the House.
Thanks for the opportunity, Deputy Speaker. Honorable Majake, I think I've been trying by all means not to listen to what we are saying, because I felt confronted. At the same time, you are talking the truth. I wanted to drift away from the suspension of referential procurement framework. But I must hasten to say, we are very much aware as the African National Congress that the enemy is now launching the color revolution in South Africa, where the rule of law gets to be undermined through the creatures like the one you mentioned, the AfriForum, the Freedom Under Law, the Corruption Watches, and now recently, the enemy is fighting, in fact, to prosecute in collaboration with the NPA. We are very much aware. The second illustration of undermining the rule of law. One of the members in this house went to Cape Town to mobilize people in order to undermine the sitting president of the African National Congress and, of course, of the country. You know, when my man was in power, he introduced a system of a shadow cabinet. And, of course, it still exists in here. Zikhona izithunzi against you, executive. And they were told to say, hold the executive accountable. What a repetition of the constitution that is being played by the oversight committees of this legislature. And lastly, I think they were told they must forever seek to advance an alternative policy towards the one of the ANC. And I've been sitting here, having my meeting with myself, but I can't arrive to a conclusion that there's an alternative. Ms. Pateka, members in blue. Honorable Deputy Speaker,
Honorable members,
the month
can you please stop what you're doing?
of April will forever resonate in the history of our nation and as the month that saw the first democratic elections in 1994 that gave birth to the freedom and constitutional democracy in South Africa. Over the past 28 years, the lives of our people of South Africa have changed for the better. Millions of our people have houses, electricity, and have access to clean drinking water. Children from poor communities have access to free education. Over 17.5 million of our most vulnerable citizens receive social grants. We advance the cause and rights of workers to organize, collectively bargain, refuse dangerous work, and to strike. It is for this reason that the national minimum wage was introduced from January 2019 to improve the lives of our workers. The black middle class has significantly grown thanks to the ANC progressive policies on affirmative action. That industrialization and the gender equality has to be a way to go. Although much has been achieved, we could have moved faster and the quality of services could have been much better. We accept the mistakes that we have made and some critical in areas, and we are also aware that progress has been stalled in other areas. Deputy Speaker, the ANC is a broad movement of the people with historic mission to build a united and democratic South Africa that is non-racial, non-sexist, and prosperous. Many people fought a long and hard struggle and sacrificed much to bring about freedom and democracy in the country. The Freedom Charter remains our inspiration and our strategic guide to realizing a better life and a South Africa that truly belongs to all who live in it. The Freedom Charter is the living soul of our country's progressive constitution, and that is the foundation of Vision 2030 of the National Development Plan. Everything we're doing is in pursuance of the vision of the NDP to address the triple challenges of unemployment, poverty, and inequality. Speaker, the budget as presented by Honorable MEC Khadija outlines the department's mandate to promote and enforce transparency and effective management of revenue expenditure, assets and liabilities of provincial departments and public entities. It acknowledges our province's significant social and economic divides, and as a result, prioritize transformation in public service through sustainable resource management. This goal is pursued by ensuring that our provincial government has the appropriate amount of money in the appropriate department to meet government commitment in the most cost-effective manner possible. MEC, we are confident that the department will continue to strive for achieving its goal through 1, more accurate and timely forecasting of cash flows and balances, 2, more efficient and responsive cash management processing and service provision, 3, management and consolidated risk positions, and lastly, integrated of cash and debt management. Our provincial government financial health is heavily reliant on the ability of the Department of Treasury to assist other departments in earning and collecting revenue and making payments in a productive, competent, and effective manner. to maximize capacity for consistent and sustainable service delivery to our communities. The provincial revenue is an essential element to safeguarding both provincial and municipal government developmental agendas. The Free State Province-owned generated revenue represents a small share of our provincial fiscal envelope, but continues to play a vital role in supplementing the national transfers. We also note the negative effect of COVID-19 on our provincial capacity to collect revenue due to some government services partially operating due to the national lockdown. Main revenue items such as motor vehicle licenses were adversely affected by the national lockdowns. However, with the restrictive COVID-19 regulations and the national state of disaster put to an end, we are confident that the provincial revenue capacity will pick up. The department has communicated an estimated collection of 1.143 billion, which is encouraging in our collective efforts to building a developmental state that has the capacity and capability to mobilize society and direct resources towards developmental goals. MEC were confident that the budget will assist our department to continue working on improving systems of our revenue management with a view to increase collections and providing financial support to department and funding of our own revenue enhancement projects. The ANC is also impressed with the level of transparency on the revenue matters, and such is good to ensuring an accountable government of the people. The macroeconomic environment remains constrained, yes. Consequently, the main budget revenue is expected to remain below the main budget spending. We call on the department to always align itself with the principles of Public Finance Management Act to promote good budget management, to maximize performance and service delivery through the efficient and effective use of limited resources. This will assist us in restoring the credibility and integrity of our public institutions, as well as ensuring that funds are used for the intended purpose. Through you, Speaker, I'm sure the MEC will agree with me that the execution of core government functions and public sector service delivery crucially relies on the availability of effective managed public sector assets. In this regard, it is essential that the provincial treasury maintains and coordinates other departments to commit to ongoing maintenance of asset registers. The Deputy Speaker, the research indicates that in the pre-democratic South Africa, budgeting system was a secret in nature. There was no open formula for funds allocation for the country, provinces, and even at the level of the municipalities. Again, literature reveals that the budget was a matter of executive, meaning that the executive was at the forefront of compiling the budget with less role for Parliament and the legislature. Due to the secretive nature of the budgeting processes, it was difficult to analyze and scrutinize service delivery trends and conduct financial analysis because the budget documents were not accessible nor were not availed for scrutiny. As a result, accountability and transparency suffered as elements of good governance. We have encouraged transparent and inclusive budgeting processes that respect the taxpayers and mobilize them to closely monitor how their hard-earned taxes are spent today, thanks to the ANC-led government. This is good news for our country's democracy, which will forever be vigilant and hold one another accountable. We call on the department to maintain an ongoing training programs and mechanisms for implementing the PFMA. This will benefit the department's effort to oversee fiscal discipline, allocation efficiency, and internal operational efficiency of itself. Adherence to the PFMA will assist the Provincial Treasury to create an enabling environment in which managers will be empowered to be more in control of the department's financial and non-financial resources to enable accelerated service delivery. Hey, let me conclude. Yeah, was a very long speech. Deputy Speaker, as the African National Congress, we are fully committed to the budget of the department as presented and call on the departments to do what the people of this province expect, demand and deserve. Thank you very much.
Honorable Van Vieren.
Dankie, agbare speaker. Oprah Winfrey het gesê, daar is nie 'n groter geskenk wat jy kan gee of ontvang as om jou roeping te eer nie. Dis hoekom jy gebore is en hoe jy jou lewe kry. Einde van aanhaling. Na 'n paar weke van debatvoering het ek gaan dink, wat se roeping het die ANC? Die een roeping wat hulle wel gehad het en wat hulle 'n baie belangrike rol gespeel het in, was om Suid-Afrika te bevry van apartheid. Dan moet ons kyk of die ANC van vandag, na 28 jaar, steeds 'n eerbare roeping het en hoe hulle dit gestand. Miskien moet ons kyk na wie verteenwoordig die ANC nasionaal, provinsiaal, lede wat hier sit, en dan seker die belangrikste op munisipale vlak, daar waar die inwoners van die Vrystaat dienslewering direk ervaar. Wat se roeping het hierdie verteenwoordigers? Daar is 'n paar gedagtes wat by my opkom as ek na die lede en die verteenwoordigers van die ANC kyk. Nou praat ek van dit wat ek gehoor het hier in die huis en dit wat ek gesien het. En dan praat ek van die integriteit van lede. Wat se integriteit en kwaliteit het die lede? Hulle is onbekwaam, oneerbaar, selfsugtig, geldgierig, verdoemend, arrogant, onberispelik, onkennend, afbreekend. Hoekom vra ek dit en dink ek dit? Want ons het deurlopend gehoor hoe swaar die mense in die Vrystaat kry, omdat daar net geen geleenthede is nie. En die ANC-lede erken dit self. Daar is nie werk nie. Mense het nie kos om te eet nie. Hulle het nie paaie om op te ry nie. Boere en plattelandse gemeenskappe voel uitgeskuif omdat hulle veiligheid nie gewaarborg word nie. Besighede maak toe omdat daar nie 'n konstante voorsiening van krag en water is nie. Agbare speaker, wat vir my die vreemdste is die arrogansie waarmee die ANC die debatte van die week aangepak het. Daar was letterlik geen suksesverhaal aan die kant van die ANC-regering in die Vrystaat nie. Nie een LER en ongelukkig sluit ek vir agbare Brown in, kon vir die mense in die Vrystaat sê hoe hulle die afgelope dekade en 'n half die omstandighede van die inwoners verbeter het nie. Dit moet tog jou roeping as politikus of regering wees om 'n positiewe verbetering of verskil te maak. Dit kan tog nie wees dat die ANC net wil breek en steel nie. Ek skaam my dat ek egter gedink het dat die agbare Brown toe sy aangewys is as LER 'n verskil wil maak. Met die geleenthede waar sy toesprake gelewer het op departemente se begrotings, was dit baie duidelik hoekom sy die posisie gekry het wat sy tans beklee. Haar ware klere het uitgekom en sy het duidelik gewys sy is 'n wolf in skaapsklere. Sy het duidelik gewys dat sy die swak bestuur en regering van die ANC sal probeer regverdig met alles wat sy het en is. Die LER van Finansies het die geleentheid gehad om vertroue by die mense in te boesem. Nie net met wat sy sê nie, maar ook met die begroting wat haar departement ter tafel gelê het. Die departement van Finansies is veronderstel om 'n baie belangrike rol te vervul om die provinsiale departemente en munisipaliteite by te staan met advies en om hulp te verleen met finansiële bestuur. Oor die jare heen was dit baie opmerklik dat die interne bekwaamheid van die finansiële bestuur veel te wense laat. En moes hulle voortdurend gebruik maak van konsultante om net te help dat daar 'n beter audit uitkoms is. Ek moet myself eers in die rede val. Dit is nie te sê dat as jy goeie audit uitkomste het, daar kwaliteit dienste op die grond gelewer word nie. Ongelukkig gaan die audit uitkomste meer oor die verslagdoening en rapportering van inligting aan die ouditeur-generaal. Soos met gewoonte val die ANC jaar na jaar in die aspek. So dit beteken eintlik dat as jy steel, moet jy net rapporteer dat jy steel. Om terug te kom na my punt, die departement van Finansies spandeer elke jaar miljoene rande aan konsultante om die departemente en munisipaliteite by te staan met finansiële bestuur. En dit is bo en behalwe die geld wat deur die munisipaliteite ook spandeer word aan konsultante. En dit sonder enige sukses. Met al die hulp kan hulle nog steeds nie skoon audit oplewer nie. Kom ek gee 'n goeie voorbeeld van iets wat tans aan die broei is in Mansholpa munisipaliteit. Mansholpa onder die leiding van ANC het vir die 2020-21 en 2021-22 boekjare West Rand Consulting auditeure aangestel om hulle state te audit. Hierdie is 'n Johannesburgse maatskappy. So die munisipaliteit spandeer nie eers die bietjie geld wat hulle kry op plaaslike firmas nie. Ek kan onomwonde sê dat ons baie bekwame auditeursfirmas in die Vrystaat het. Hierdie maatskappy is aangestel vir R5.2 miljoen vir die 2 jaar. Wat baie vreemd is dat die CFO van Mansholpa tans die COO van West Rand Consulting is. Die CFO het in die middel van 2021 bedank en die pos by West Rand aanvaar. Wat baie onreëlmatig is vir die DA, is dat die COO basies sy eie werk wil audit. Daar is soveel redes hoekom hierdie verkeerd is en dat daar 'n direkte botsing van belange is. Al werk die persoon nie self met die munisipaliteit se state nie, bly dit onreëlmatig. Volgens die raadsdokumente het Kokta en die departement van Finansies vir die munisipaliteit geadviseer om die kontrak met West Rand te kanselleer, wat die munisipaliteit toe gedoen het, maar sonder om die regte prosedures te volg. Die munisipaliteit het onmiddellik 'n ander maatskappy, EMS auditeursfirmas, aangestel om die werk te verrig. West Rand het as gevolg van die kansellasie van die kontrak 'n hofaansoek gebring om die munisipaliteit te verhoed om hulle kontrak te beëindig. West Rand se aansoek het geslaag en daar is 'n kostebevel teen die munisipaliteit uitgereik. Die verhaal eindig ongelukkig nie daar. EMS auditeure wat toe onmiddellik aangestel is, was die konsultante wat gebruik was voor die kontrak met West Rand gesluit was. Die maatskappy was nie betaal nie en het ook voorheen 'n hofbevel teen die munisipaliteit gekry. En moes die munisipaliteit die maatskappy eers 'n som geld betaal voordat die maatskappy sal voortgaan met die nuwe instruksie. Nou gaan die kontrak beëindig word en die kostes daaraan verbonde sal moet gekwantifiseer word. Wat 'n gemors. Ek kan hierdie huis vandag inlig. Geen ANC-politikus of amptenare sal verantwoordelik gehou word vir die skade in daai munisipaliteit nie. Hierdie is maar een van duisende voorbeelde in die Vrystaat. Dit is 'n skreiende skande. Ek wil myself weer in die rede val. Agbare Brown, deur die speaker. Die regering was bereid om hulle geld te spandeer op ander maatskappye in ander provinsies. Die dokters in hierdie provinsie wat Agbare Pittewey van gepraat het, is tot vandag toe, dis ons eie dokters in die Vrystaat, nog steeds nie betaal soos wat beloof is nie. Dit kan mos nie wees nie. Agbare speaker, kom ons kyk en vergelyk die departement van Finansies se resultate of sukses om munisipaliteite en departemente se audituitkomste te verbeter deur konsultante. Kom ek begin met die provinsiale departemente en ek wil aanhaal uit die gekonsolideerde PFMA verslag van die ouditeur-generaal. En ek het die verslae hierso. En ek moet nou maar ongelukkig, jy moet nou appels met appels vergelyk, soos nou weer die Wes-Kaap waar ons regeer met die Vrystaat. En ongelukkig is dit nou maar die verhaal. Dit is nie ek wat dit sê nie, hier is die dokument, julle is welkom om dit te kom kry. Dit is die ouditeur-generaal se dokument. Ongekwalifiseerde state, so skoon audits in die Wes-Kaap 100%. Ongekwalifiseerde state in die Vrystaat 50%. At least, ja, die premier is reg, at least 50%, dankie tog, anders was daar niks. Ongemagtigde uitgawes, irregular expenditure in die Weskaap, 328,9 miljoen. Ongemagtigde uitgawes in die Vrystaat, 2,2 miljard rand, 2,2 biljoen. Onreëlmatige uitgawes, unauthorized expenditure in die Weskaap, 0.
Honorable Van Vuren, could you please take a seat? Honorable Mashinini.
Thank you very much, Speaker. I will not yet of meneer Van Vuren may vragen vat.
Honorable Van Vuren, are you willing to take a question?
As daar meer tyd was, agbare spreker, sou ek, dankie, maar nie nou nie.
He is
Goed,
not willing.
die verhaal gaan aan. Vrugtelose uitgawes in die Weskaap, 900,000 rand. Vrugtelose uitgawes in die Vrystaat, 102 miljoen rand. Agbare spreker, ek wil net graag lees wat die ouditeur-generaal in sy provinsiale oorsig, sy Provincial overview gesê het oor die Weskaap. Daar staan, robust control environment, solid and consistent pattern of good financial government. Dis sy woorde hier. In die Vrystaat, lack of leadership, tone an effective consequence management to ensure accountability. Lack of leadership. Agbare spreker, kom ek gaan oor na die munisipaliteite toe. Selfe verslae, ouditeur-generaal se verslae. Die Weskaap, ongekwalifiseerde state, skoonstate, 100%. Ongekwalifiseerde finansiële state, 27% in die Vrystaat. Waar daar geen materiële bevindings is nie, waar daar geen foute is nie, 91% in die Vrystaat. In die Weskaap, ekskuus, dis belangrik. 91% in die Weskaap en in die Vrystaat 29%. Agbare spreker, die finansiële gesondheid, financial health indicators. So die going concern uncertainty, die onsekerheid in die Weskaap wat daar bestaan, is 0. In die Vrystaat is 73% onsekerheid. Dit is nou munisipaliteite, so hulle bestaan om. Die tekortkoming, die deficit in die Weskaap is 18 miljoen rand. In die Vrystaat is 2 biljoen rand. 2 miljard rand. Ja, is reg, dit maak nie saak vir julle nie. Dit is die hele punt wat ons wil maak. Dis die hele tyd nog die ANC se narratief.
Order.
Die narratief wat die ANC nog die hele tyd volg. En die mense in die Vrystaat moet dit verstaan.
Honorable members.
Dis juist die punt.
Order.
Dit maak nie saak vir hulle nie. Hulle worry nie daaroor nie. Dis net syfers. Dis net geld wat gemors word. Maar hier sit hulle. Hulle kry elke maand hulle geld, hulle salarisse. Maar hulle gaan aan en hulle wil dit nie verander nie. Kom ek lees my speech. Ek doen dit ter wille van die mense in die Vrystaat dat ek hierdie herhaal. Want dit is 'n tragedie. Dit is banaal. Kom ek sê net vir julle, die terugbetalingstydperk en die honorable Meeko daarvan gepraat. Dit moet 30 dae wees. In die Weskaap is dit te veel. Dis 59 dae, die gemiddeld. Maar kan ek vir julle sê wat is dit in die Vrystaat? 507 dae. Is amper 2 jaar. Dis 10 keer meer as wat dit in die Weskaap is. Wat hulle sukkel om hulle mense te betaal.
Honorable members, order.
So, kom ek lees net vinnig wat sê die overview, die provincial overview, en die staan skryf op, each province has a unique story. In die Weskaap, good financial accounting controls, but inadequate preventative controls on compliance. So daar's 'n ding, but good financial accounting controls. In die Vrystaat, each province has a unique story. Lack of accountability creates a perpetual disrespect for regulations, resulting in management of resources and lack of service delivery. Daar's hy. Die agbare lid het nou net gesê die ouditeur-generaal lieg, maar gaan sê vir hom dit, nie vir hulle dit, nie vir my nie. Dit is feite. Dis feite. Die mense kan dit gaan aftrek van die internet af, ouditeur-generaal se verslae. Dis vrylik bekombaar. Agbare spreker, hierdie is skrikwekkend. Die agbare LER Brown het in een van haar debatte gesê en hulle is besig om te werk aan die probleme. Daar is nou 'n nuwe rade by munisipaliteite. Onthou net, dis nuwe rade wat ingestem is, maar dis dieselfde mense. Daar's nie ander mense nie. En ons moet hulle kans gee om die verandering aan te bring. Sy het ook baie hoogdrawend gesê, sy sal ekskuus sê oor 'n jaar as daar nie 'n verbetering is nie. Agbare Brown, jy moenie ekskuus sê oor 'n jaar nie. Ek daag u uit om jou bedanking in te dien oor 'n jaar as die situasie nie verander nie. Dit moet drasties verander, nie net verander nie. En die ANC is baie vinnig om 'n klein veranderingkie aan te bring. En wat die ANC ook geneig is om te doen, hulle wil erkenning kry dat hulle werk doen. Mens kry nie erkenning van dat jy jou werk doen nie. Jy kry erkenning van as jy meer doen as jou werk. As jy beter uitkomste het as wat van jou verwag word. En nie dankie sê vir dit wat jy moet doen nie. Gelukkig is die mense in die Vrystaat besig om deur julle ontkenning en voorgeespel te kyk. Agbare spreker, 'n ander aspek van die Vrystaat wat die Vrystaat dwars in die krop steek, is dat daar soos in die ouditeur-generaal se verslag duidelik gerapporteer is dat daar geen gevolge is vir swak en korrupte finansiële bestuur en besluitneming nie. Selfs die vorige hoof van die departement is onder verdenking en was gearresteer vir moontlike bedrog. Ons hoor van rapportering en verslae, maar geen aksie nie. Inteendeel, die korruptes word net rondgeskuif met die hoop dat iemand nie vra of dit agterkom nie. Geagte Brown, ons sien dit en die DEA sal aanhou om korrupsie oop te vlek en te rapporteer. Gelukkig sien ons met al die inligting wat tans na ons kant toe kom van amptenare en politici in die ANC dat die skrif aan die muur is. Soos in Hosea geskryf staan, en ek haal dit weer aan, God sal julle ongeregtigheid onthou en julle straf vir julle sondes. Agbare spreekers, anders as die ANC besef die DEA die verantwoordelikheid wat op die skouers van die regering is en kry ons dinge gedoen. Daar is tans meer as 20 miljoen mense in Suid-Afrika wat op een of ander manier die waarde van 'n DEA-regering eerstens ervaar. Dis sover ons nou regeer. Die ANC het en sal na hierdie toespraak weer opstaan en sê wat hulle reg doen, wat hulle nie kan reg kry nie. En dit is als as gevolg van Jan van Riebeeck en apartheid se skuld. En dat hulle die mense gefaal het. Maar dit sal niks verander aan die feit dat die DEA se regeringsrekord onkreukbaar is nie. Hoekom vaar die DEA beter as die ANC? Hoekom kry ons dit reg? Wat ons glo in? Integriteit, eerlikheid, standvastigheid, betroubaarheid, bekwaamheid, medemenslikheid, opregtheid. Spreker, die DEA sal nie die begroting van die departement wat die mense in die Vrystaat val ondersteun nie. Ek dank u.
Honorable MEC.
Order, honorable members. Ake leboe motsamaisi wa dipuisano, motlatsi wa motsamaisi wa dipuisano, mme premier bahlomphehi matona a mmuso o eteletsweng pele ke tonakgolo, bahlomphehi ba teng ka mona ba eleng di-member tsa legislature kaofela ha lona re dumelang. Honorable Speaker, South Africa remains a dual economy with one of the highest persistent inequality rates in the world, with consumption expenditure, that is Gini coefficient of 0.63 in 2015. High inequality is perpetuated by the legacy of exclusion and nature of economic growth, which is not pro-poor. And I know that it is difficult for other people to agree to this because then it will expose their sins. Transformation of our economy to be more inclusive and proper, we cannot wait anymore. Honorable Speaker, the provincial treasuries were established in 1994, soon after the South Africa's transition to a democratic order. And they were subsequently formalized in terms of Section 17 of the PFMA in 1999. The member of Executive Council for Finance, as the head of the respective treasury, takes policy decisions supported by the provincial government department responsible for financial matters in the respective province. And MEC Khadisha, you are doing well because you are doing exactly that. There's no need for you to resign. Section 18 and 19 of PFMA details the functions and powers of the provincial treasury in preparing the provincial budget and in controlling its execution to ensure that management of revenue, expenditure, assets, liabilities by the provincial government department is effective and transparent, which we had as Honorable Khatebe stood here, that this was something that was never known in the past. And provincial fiscal policies do not undermine national economic policies. The provincial treasuries are required to implement national legislation such as the PFMA, the Local Government Municipal Finance Management Act 56 of 2003, and the Annual Division of Revenue Act, as well as their supporting regulation. Provincial treasuries have two other important functions. The number one is to serve as the custodian of the Provincial Revenue Fund, charged with ensuring that all revenues accruing to the provincial government are paid into the fund and are effectively managed and audited. That is Section 21 to 25 of the PFMA. Provincial Treasury of Free State, under the leadership of MEC Khadisha, is doing exactly that. You are doing well. The second one is they must prepare consolidated annual financial statements of the provincial government as a whole, consisting of all departments, provincial public entities, and provincial legislature. We had, as you were reading your speech, the policies that you are also doing to make sure that at least you support the departments and also support the municipalities in ensuring that they improve on their financial management. The provincial treasuries have been, since 2007, been operating under difficult circumstances due to the economic pressures that were brought by the global fiscal meltdown and subsequently the advent of COVID-19 pandemic that has tightened the fiscal space further. This financial crisis necessitated a review of the fiscal policy, completely new approach of managing government expenditure. The Free State Provincial Treasury ensured that money is spent prudently in the departments, that cost containment measures are fully implemented, and that money is spent prudently in the Free State Provincial Government. The Free State Province has, over the past 3 years, managed to report expenditure variance that is not in excess of 2% from the appropriated funds. I would also like to mention, Madam Speaker, that Free State Provincial Treasury has also set a good example by ensuring that it does not overspend its own approved budget. Madam Speaker, At the time when the Free State Province was challenged with the huge cost of employees, the Provincial Treasury proposed the Executive Council that all the appointments of employees should be subjected to a rigorous process of checks and balances in ensuring that all posts that needs to be filled are well funded. And this has helped the department. I also wish to congratulate the Free State Provincial Treasury for researching and publishing on annual basis the Municipal Socio-Economic Review and Outlook, as well as the Provincial Economic Review and Outlook. I'm calling upon my colleagues to go through these two well-researched annual publications and ensure that we implement the recommendations of such documents. These publications further demonstrate the research capacity that the Free State Provincial Government has, which can assist the policymakers in making policy decisions that are informed by the empirical research. We welcome the initiative by the Provincial Treasury to monitor the implementation of infrastructure programs of the departments in ensuring that 4.5 million investment is well spent and that the government derives money from each and every rent spent. Madam Speaker, the Free State Government has responded positively to the call by the President and Premier to pay suppliers within 30 days. That is the truth. The Provincial Treasury has been monitoring the performance of the departments in this regard and have reported an improvement on the part of departments with regards to payment of eligible suppliers within 30 days. The corruption is the enemy of the development and good governance. We all need to rise against corruption as we discharge our responsibilities. The Provincial Treasury's efforts in facilitating the rollout of the National Anti-Corruption Strategy and Lifestyle Audit is welcome, and it is an indication of the current administration under the stewardship of Honorable Khadisha attitude towards crime and corruption. We would also like to applaud the efforts by both the Provincial Treasury and COCTA in supporting municipalities to improve their audit outcomes. This support will go a long way in ensuring that we improve financial management in our municipalities. We want to congratulate the MSCs, both MSCs of COCTA and MSC for Finance for this. It is important to understand that while the ANC government is working hard to undo the legacy of apartheid, of inequality, poverty and unemployment, some people in this August House believe it only started after ushering of democracy in 1994. Yet we are undoing the legacy of more than 400,000 years, which cannot be easy, especially with the skewed distribution of wealth. And we know that the wealth is still in the hands of the few, while the majority are suffering. And people will stand here and grandstand, and yet they know that the skewed distribution of wealth is it's the one that is causing this unemployment, poverty, and inequality. Forgiving each other, Honorable Klute, we should, but we cannot forget where we come from. We cannot forget the legacy of apartheid and the problems where they started when Jan van Riebeeck arrived in South Africa. It is important for us not to forget. And wishing that the provincial government be put under Section 100, it's a sin, because I believe as the Premier was standing here, he said, let us all work to make sure that we improve the lives of our people. If you want peace, this is what Comrade Chris Hani said. He said, if you want peace, I quote, if you want peace, then you must struggle for social justice. So it means to us a luta continua, because our people are still suffering. The struggle must continue. And I think as you are sitting in here, listening to what the debate from, especially the DA, it says we still have a lot to do to make sure that we liberate our people. And we must make sure that through our struggle, we transform the economy and even our economic trajectory, and make sure that all our policies are pro-poor. We must work towards fighting these policies that make sure that we continue with the apartheid policies that are not helping us in ensuring that we make sure that we create jobs for our people and deal with the poverty. The Speaker, I believe on the issue of the doctor salaries, you made a rule, and I would not even bother, because I know that I got the answers and I gave them to the Honorable that was asking questions. And the problem that we are having is the fact that these people, the payments of their salaries is done. It's not the salaries that is owed, but it's the benefits. It's overtime and also the rural allowance that is owed. And I submitted their names, and then I got the answer from the chief director that indeed these people have been paid their salaries. They are only owed these benefits, the overtime and also the rural allowance, and And I also got the progress that we have captured everybody that is owed by now on parcel. All that we are waiting is for the approval, and we are expecting these payments to be done by Thursday. And it's not like we are sitting and doing nothing. But when people want to grandstand and want to sit here and purport that we are not doing our work, they will indeed say whatever they want, but truth will always come out. 30 days, like I said, it's not the salaries. Most of the people that are sitting in here understood that people are owed salaries. It's not. It's benefits. So who lied? No need to resign, MEC. Like I said, you are doing quite well in ensuring that your policies are working towards making sure that you improve the lives of the people of Free State. And I believe that every municipality, as they, or even the government, the Free State Treasury government, as they give people, they give consultants work, they would have given consultants based on the performance of those consultants, not because they are from Free State or from elsewhere. We cannot be told who to appoint and not to appoint by the opposition party. Let them first start by going out, winning elections, because if they are doing well, indeed they will win elections, people will vote for them. But unfortunately, they are not winning elections. And now they want to co-govern with the African National Congress, and that cannot be allowed. If you serve fewer people along the racial lines, you cannot claim to be doing well. Free State government is serving everybody despite the color of their skin. And we know that in Western Cape, your color of skin is the wait for opportunities to come your way. And those that are of darker skin like myself do not get quality services. Thank you.
The Honorable MEC may now reply.
Thank you. Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Premier, before I start, I think it would be important for the House, through you, Speaker, to understand why we have a political debate in this room. And if I can give you a short overview, my mom, she finished Standard 8. My dad finished Standard 3, they were never educated. My father was one of 12 children, my mother was one of 8. And they had to support themselves in a very tough apartheid era. My first job, I was 16 years old, because my culture and also the circumstances said women could not study. We didn't get free education. I had to pay for my brother to study so he could be the second generation to take care of our family. So I worked and I earned 800 Rand a month, which I gave to my mom, and she had to give me whatever it was that I needed. My first permanent position was in 1999. That first mini job that I had was in 1996, 2 years after democracy. And in 1999, I earned at the bank 1,200. But then I studied and I worked my way up. I was the first provincial manager of colour in the Free State at the age of 24 as a professional after my studies. I was a provincial manager of BE. I had to come and talk to farmers, to mines. At 23 on BE codes, I had to sit with National, understand those codes, and I had to relate those codes to private sector on behalf of the bank. Was I a token? Was I put there because I was experienced enough? Those were the questions I kept asking myself. Was I good enough for that job? And today I can stand here and I can say I am good enough for this job. Honourable Speaker, apart from that, as a provincial BE manager, I had to learn and understand how to transform private sector. I was a credit admin officer, and then I looked at private banking. In private banking, we had one portfolio of white private banking clients. One man, a judge, was a black private banking client in the bank that I worked for. I built 2 black private banking accounts at the bank, similarly with commercial banking. But let us not go there. Why is my politics so deep this year in the debates? It's because I understand where I come from. I understand what I've had to build, and I understand what it still takes for us to build this Free State and South Africa, to change the system that we have not created for ourselves, but a system that every day I still fight for. An aunt of mine makes samosas on a street corner so she can earn a salary because she could not be educated and she could not be in the slavery state of having to earn a job by owners or landowners or producing owners. Those are the things that I am still dealing with. I'm the first woman in my entire family to have had a degree. So excuse me if I am dealing with politics in this room, but my role as a deployee of the African National Congress is not only to showcase how professional we can be, because we are deployed through professionalism, but also understanding what it is that we are here for, what we are to be revolutionaries for, what we advocate for, what do we fight for. And I am asking the question, when I think about it, what does the DA fight for? What do you fight for? What have you come up here in this debate over the past debates? What have you stood here and fought for in terms of changing the lives of our people? And with the matters that the opposition raised, and you know why I think the opposition feels that this layer brown, it's gedog from the government's perspective, I'll be different. But all you could challenge us were on 5 issues. Number 1, 20 million human settlement funding that went back to national, 0.16% of the total budget. That's what you fought for. 46 million of police, roads and transport, 0.78% of the total budget. Roads, municipalities, which we as the ANC is saying that we've got to work hard. We're going to put principles in place to make sure that we change it. We know and we've attested that Mangaung Metro, and I'm going to go in there. Mangaung Metro, we know the challenges of Mangaung Metro. We stated it at the Select Committee, we stated it at the NCLP, we stated it ourselves as the executive, the challenges of Mangaung Metro. CDP, the bursaries which all your constituencies are benefiting from, and then the bill that you had an issue with that is going to structurally change your constituencies' money flow. Those are the things that you fought for. Other than that, what could you fight for? Because honestly, through you, Speaker, EXCO, we have put together a magnificent budget that spoke to job creation, that spoke to the economy, that is dealing with the pressures. Now, subject to this government and this ANC government, we have got pocket of excellence. Speaker, we have got black excellence. We are members that are, and many in this room, we hold integrity. We are not corrupt. I can stand there and tell you that ANC members, the ANC is not corrupt. There may be individuals, and that is something different, but you cannot call an organization corrupt. We are the ones that are fighting against corruption. We put it in our constitution, we it in our policy documents, we instilling programs that both Premier, Copter and this entire legislature has outlined in terms of oversight on what we are doing to combat corruption. It is not only ANC members who are officials of provincial and local governments. We have members of all parties who are employees of local, provincial and national governments. So you're saying is the ANC corrupt or officials are corrupt? Because now you are either talking about management or leadership. Management and leadership of organizations is different to making determining factors. I cannot give an instruction to any official to do any illegitimate thing. It is an official, and these officials, we don't call them and say, please tell us which party, which member of which party you belong to before we appoint them. Oh no, we cannot do that. Now, I will always defend the ANC because the policy of the African National Congress is a progressive policy, it's a pro-poor policy, it is hybrid on communism, socialism, it manages capitalism, it makes sure that this country has got a national democratic revolution that is going to abide to the structural reforms of changing the face of this country. And if you cannot withstand the changes that this organization is making, you will see how you will find yourself funding those people who are going to stand up and revolt against our government. Yes, you're going to find yourself funding and supporting NGOs that are going to take us to court. You are going to stand up and you're going to find yourself dealing with other institutions that will continue to think or feel that they're more advanced in terms of changing legislation from an outside perspective into this government. But let me remind the House Honourable Speaker that it's the people of this province that decides who's going to be elected. It is the people of the province, it is our community, it is the ground that decides whether the ANC will still be elected as the leading party of this government. And if you are unable to understand why I stand up here and I'm the NEC of Treasury and I'm bringing in policies and funding towards ensuring that there is no skewed economy, to ensure that the division of revenue through the Fiscal Commission and through regulation and legislation of this government that has been given to us as the powers of the executive, if you're going to question why we make sure that we deal with the structural reforms, then jointly in this legislature, we're not dealing with the same constituents. It is clear we're not dealing with the same constituents because our constituents, our people have asked us to empower them, to be able to create equality, to be able to ensure that there is a fair and equitable chance for everybody who lives in this country to be able to be equal in front of the law, equal in front of procurement access, equal in front of land access, equal in front of access to what government has got to offer. And I trust that this budget that we've put together as we close represents that. And I'm proudly African National Congress. Amanda, thank you.
Honorable members, the reply by the Honorable MEC concludes debate on vote for Free State Provincial Treasury. The Deputy Speaker shall now take the chair.
Order, honorable members. Honorable members, before we proceed to motion 3, I wish to remind the House that the vote for the Free State Legislature is not subjected to debate. Secretary shall read the motion.
That leave be granted for the second reading debate on Appropriation Bill number 2, 2022, presentation of vote 2, Free State Legislature.
The Honorable Speaker, Mercy Fuba, shall present the budget vote of the Free State Legislature to the House.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker, Premier Sifuran Ntombela, Honorable members of the Legislature, the Honorable Chief Whip of the Legislature, the Honorable Deputy Chief Whip, the members of the Executive Council, the Chairperson of Chairpersons of Committees, Honorable Khadebe, the Honorable Jankelson, the leader of the opposition, the distinguished guests, the honorable members and the public out there.
Honorable members, order. Order. Can you give the Speaker a chance to present? Thank you.
We are better together. Deputy Speaker, it is a great honor to present before this House the budget vote for the Free State Legislature. At the beginning of 2021-22 financial year, we made a commitment to ourselves and to the people to never lower the guard. We focused our energies in continuous implementation of key policy directives and programs. This we did not do because we had a choice or that the prevailing conditions allowed us, but because our actions and words are vital in uniting our people. Our unity was fortified in April 1994 when South Africans from all walks of life proved the world that indeed we are better together. Together we must use the historic April month to celebrate our humanity. Our resilience as people is marked tacitly in Red Cross this month of April. Together we must, the month of April echoes in our minds a reminder that the freedom we celebrate is as a result of great human sacrifice. The cowardly assassination of Chris Hani was undertaken during this month. Apartheid government killed Solomon Mahlangu by hanging during this month. When 20 million voters took to voting polls, April once again symbolized a great triumph of our country, a democratic election which resulted in freedom and the demise of a cohesive rule, as well as constitutional democracy where all South Africans have a voice. As we celebrate this Freedom Month, we celebrate South Africa as a fully independent state that respects human rights and the sovereignty of other nations. As the legislature, we also celebrate that with freedom and independence, our country enjoys full membership as part of Commonwealth countries. As members of the Commonwealth, we work together with 53 other independent states to quicken Africa's development and to safeguard continental peace and stability. It is in this regard that we join the rest of the world to commemorate the 28th anniversary of the genocide against the Tutsi ethnic minority in Rwanda. The 1994 genocide claimed almost 1 million lives. May the world never see these kinds of atrocity inflicted upon the people ever again. At the national level, the Free State Legislature continues to cooperate and participate within the South African legislative sector through established forums such as the Speakers Forum and the Secretaries Association of South Africa. Deputy Speaker, we are also meeting here following some very important events in our government calendar. The successful hosting of the State of the Nation address by Parliament of South Africa, despite the destruction by fire at the National Assembly, is commendable. The hosting of the State of the Province address by the Free State Legislature with almost 2,000 people in attendance was good for the province. The successful work in tabling the provincial budget and the marathon of departmental budget votes remain critical to our democracy. Over the past 2 years, the impact of COVID-19 pushed us all to increased reliance on technology and new methods of work. The demands of our people likewise increased, and the resources at our disposal continued to dwindle. We maintained our resilience, although as a country we have learned many lessons. Among them is that we must stick together. We learned that the country's success in education, especially science and technology, among them is that we must stick together. We learned that the country's success in education, especially in science and technology, can be directly linked to its independence against global pressure. In his book called Great Influenza, The Story of the Deadliest Plague in History, John Berry writes, I quote, "The influenza pandemic that erupted in 1918 was the first great collision between nature and modern science," close quote. The painful lessons of the coronavirus pandemic are instructive to us as a country, that unless we prioritize education, and especially modern science and technology, other countries will impose their solutions upon us. As we have seen, they detected the type of vaccines, the price, the pace of its distribution. The COVID-19 pandemic presented an opportunity for South Africa and Africa to find solutions to scientific problems rather than look across other oceans for solutions. It is for this reason that we celebrate every milestone with so much vigor, such as the matric result produced by the class of 2021. For we believe that these results are a symbol of resilience and conviction that one day we'll become global leaders in scientific solutions. It is for this reason that we say once again, congratulations to the class of 2021, the Premier, MEC for Education, and all our educators. Honorable members, as we continue to confine our operations within the restrictions of COVID-19 regulations, we know that it is not easy, but we succeeded. Yes, it is true that more and more families have sunk deeper into poverty due to worsening economic situation and of COVID-19 pandemic. Yes, it is true that we are emerging from a horrible period of uncertainty. It is important, therefore, that we keep the same spirit, we maintain the same momentum of the fight against the disease to triumph over the triple challenges tormenting our country. Dear honorable members, let me take this moment to send warm regards to the family of Goab Johannes Dunki Kralshoek, who was a leader of the Griqua people. I have had the pleasure of meeting and engaging with him during the speaker's outreach programs. Although the recognition of the Khoisan community is a matter under consideration, his role in building consciousness among the Khoisan community in the province and the country is immeasurable. May his soul rest in peace. Ladies and gentlemen, while reminiscing of a grief-stricken life of Rubin Hare, who was former deputy president of the South African Student Organization in 1970s, the author of a book called Meditations in the Gutter, Mulaudi Wasikage, asked some pertinent questions. He asked, and I quote, "If the revolution we talk about does not start from the heart, where does it start? What of our revolutionary claims if they don't talk to compassion, humanity, and mutual trust?" Close quote. These are the questions that we should be answering in our everyday work. Having previously appreciated economic challenges facing our people, our work is also endlessly developing. There is no doubt that the legislature must position itself in such a way that its work can directly and visibly influence the living conditions of our people. Times have changed. There isn't enough resources. However, like a dung beetle, we always deliver more with less. For every work we execute successfully and the rate at which we have been doing, more communities are looking up to us with great expectation. The nature of our work, the obligation to always observe the Constitution and the budget constraints do at times impose about restraint. However, if things are done accurately and sincerely, we can gain the love and trust of our people. We can achieve our set objectives in building the National Democratic Resolution. On Program 1, Deputy Speaker, Institutional Leadership, when you look into strategic focus, looking at the impact of our work in line with our strategic focus, we appreciate that a clearly defined plan is a cornerstone of our success. We held a number of strategic reviews on our plans to enable the institution to meet the needs of a fast-changing world of work. This work is encapsulated in 4 main programs as identified in the strategic plan of the institution. We cited strong strategic and financial management as critical to the functioning of the legislature. As noted by Professor Christopher Achua, senior leaders must make every effort to eliminate policies, procedures, and behaviors that undermine the change efforts. We expanded our management structure and increased the involvement of our middle management in senior management processes. More and more organizational policies were developed and outdated ones are being reviewed. We conducted an organizational structure review and drastically reduced the vacancy rate by filling 13 vacant positions with the internal and external candidates. Further 6 funded vacant positions will be filled during the year 2022-2023 financial period. They include the Hansard editor, deputy secretary, admin Hansard, procurement officer, senior assets officer, and constituency liaison officer. We have also earmarked 7 vacant and unfunded posts to be filled this financial year. They include the chief audit executive, the researcher, marketing officer, performance information officer, and archives officer. Of importance, the crucial position of the secretary to the legislature was filled during the 3rd quarter of 2021-22 financial year. Congratulations to Mr. Mapicha Machaka for his appointment as the secretary to the legislature. The appointment is important for maintaining stability within the institution and to ensure strategic focus. Honorable members, it is with great pleasure that we once again wish to report a very good story. The Free State Legislature has received unqualified audit outcome for the financial year 2020-2021 for the third time in a row and for the fifth time in 6 years. Only during 2017 and 2018 financial period did the legislature receive qualified audit outcome. We have already developed a clear post-audit action plan to address matters raised by the Auditor General. We already know that we'll have to urgently improve our performance information as well as our financial statements. On labor matters, honorable members, Deputy Speaker, despite some internal and external factors which are naturally influencing our work environment, the institution has proven to be flexible and competitive. We conducted an assessment on the current recognition of years of service versus the performance-based system. Workshops, benchmarking and engagements at shop floor level have been completed to give way to the implementation of a performance-based system. We are of the view that once the process is finalized for implementation, the reward system will be directly linked to the strategic objectives and goals of the legislature. On public procurement, to support local communities members, the Free State Legislature remains committed to the principle of public procurement that requires that procurement processes of goods and services are competitive, fair, transparent, equitable, and cost-effective. We note the Preferential Procurement Policy Framework Regulations of 2017 has recently been declared invalid by the court. However, our procurement processes will continue to advance businesses of the previously disadvantaged groups such as blacks, women, and people with disability. We will also continue to encourage and support suppliers in rural areas of our province. This approach remains consistent with the Financial Management of Parliament and Provincial Legislatures Act of 2009. Our oversight mechanism, public hearings, committee site visits, and sectoral activities taking place across the province enhance the legislature's procurement activities. As a result, we can support many small, medium, and micro enterprises and stimulate local economy. On constitutional mandate, honorable members, the Constitution of the Republic provides that the state should consist of 3 arms, namely Parliament, Executive, and the Judiciary, each with clearly defined roles and responsibilities. This originates from the Magna Carta, also known as the Great Charter of the 13th century, which came as a result of the revolt by the people who were against the absolute power possessed by the king at that time. It emphasizes the liberties of the people and the rule of law, and as a result gave birth to the establishment of Parliament and independence of the judiciary. The reason we have the separation of powers is to ensure democracy and not to have power and authority concentrated in a single institution. Parliament makes laws, the executive executes the laws, and the judiciary interprets the law. The Constitution states that the legislative authority of the province is vested in its provincial legislature. We therefore have the responsibility in terms of Section 114 to maintain oversight of the exercise of provincial executive authority in the province. Our core function are lawmaking, public participation, and maintaining oversight of the executive and other organs of state in the province. The Constitution makes it very clear that the legislature must conduct its business in a transparent manner. For us to be able to discharge all these duties, we need funding from the state fiscus, which rests with the Department of Treasury. This funding process is explained in the Financial Management of Parliament and Legislatures Act of 2009 as amended in 2014, as well as the Public Finance Management Act number 29 of 1999. On Program 2, Core Business, the Deputy Speaker, through necessary differential consultations and engagements, more focus was given to the powers and functions of the legislature. The legislative sector bill remains a key instrument initiated by the sector for which we play a critical role as a province. Despite a slow process finalizing and adopting the bill, some of its key principles are seriously considered. This is with the aid of a memorandum of understanding of which we are a signatory. For example, the power of the legislatures in determining their own budget processes, the promotion of separation of powers between the legislature and the executive arm of the state. We are also continuing with the budget cycle model that regulates consideration of government plans for the purpose of effective oversight and accountability. The budget cycle model enhances the ability of the House to adopt reports as required by legislation. We acknowledge that matters of employment relations and basic conditions of employment in the sector have not been fully integrated and implemented at Central Bargaining Forum. However, discussions are underway within the legislative sector to harmonize different conditions of employment in each legislature. This is to create a platform towards common approach to employment relations in this sector. On legislation and oversight, the use of the 5 cluster portfolio committee mechanisms, each having corresponding departments as reconfigured by the executive, has yielded good results. Each cluster, except for the Public Accounts and Finance Committee, exercised oversight over 3 departments. We held 101 committee meetings, 17 House sittings, 6 voting mandates conferred on Section 76 bills, 4 petitions report tabled, and 9 under consideration. This is an exceptional work done by honorable members. The Public Accounts and Finance Committee has also done wonderful work in considering the reports of the Auditor General in relation to departments, public entities, and municipalities. The committee has also done wonderful work in consideration of the money bills tabled by the member of the Executive Council for Finance. The committee has also considered the reports by the Provincial Treasury from the Auditor General, as well as the consideration of the quarterly financial aid and quarterly financial and non-financial reports of all departments. On law-making and harmonization of internal arrangements, honorable members, in the previous financial year, the legislature considered a number of proposed provincial legislation and adopted the legislation for implementation for the provincial executive and municipalities. Bills emanating from the NCOP were also considered, and conferral of mandates to the NCOP through provincial delegates. As we continue to carry out our mandate of lawmaking, we encourage our portfolio committees to use lived experiences of our people to initiate pieces of legislation. In this way, we'll be able to assess the impact of legislation and the acceleration of fundamental change in our society. Honorable members, we can do this because we are better together. The review of the rules and orders of the legislature will be given urgent attention during this financial year. The Speaker is empowered in terms of Rule 1 to frame rules to respond to conditions such as those occasioned by COVID-19. We, however, do caution against over-reliance on this rule. In the meantime, we will continue to follow the sector approach to attain uniformity. On relations with other stakeholders, in 2021, the Free State Legislature signed, in fact in 2020, the Free State Legislature signed the Memorandum of Understanding with the Office of the Public Protector. The MOU outlined and clarified the roles of parties in relation to each other. A clear program will soon be outlined to ensure stronger collaboration with other Chapter 9 institutions within the province. On public participation and education, Honorable Deputy Speaker, this year we could not continue with our program of taking the legislature to the people by hosting departmental votes in various districts due to limited funding. The situation has a negative effect on public participation in terms of meeting the expectation of the public. James Madison wrote as far back in 1822 that, I quote, "Knowledge will forever govern ignorance, and a people who mean to be their own governors, must arm themselves with the power which knowledge gives, close quote. We must ensure that people understand that without their involvement, no law can be fully accepted and respected by all. Our work is to provide knowledge to our people through public participation as a mechanism. Of these mechanisms, sectoral activities are very central to our public participation and education program. The Office of the Speaker managed to execute the following activities across the districts: the Youth Parliament that was held in Bloemfontein, the Widows Dialogue that was held in Kronstadt, Women's Dialogue held in Welkom, Traditional Leadership Dialogue held at Basotho Cultural Village, and Disability Parliament held in Bloemfontein. We intend to hold these sectoral parliaments annually as a way of interacting with different sectors in our communities. The resolutions and outcomes of these sectoral activities are shared with the provincial government through the Office of the Premier for further processing. We extend our sincere appreciation to honorable members and support staff who participated and worked so hard for the success of these activities. We have done better things together. Our focus during the 2022-2023 financial year will include the review of the Petitions Act to give it some extended powers to address non-responsiveness of stakeholders. We will also improve our systems, processes and capacity to speed up the turnaround time and to schedule more meetings for the ad hoc committee in order to address the current backlog. On maintenance of the Radsal, Honorable Deputy Speaker, we acknowledge the allocation of 2.5 million rand by the Provincial Treasury towards maintenance of the 4th Radsal. We consider this to be a step towards the right direction. The restoration of the 4th Radsal is not only necessary for accommodation, but for its heritage and tourism attraction ability. It is for this reason that more resources will be required in due course for continuous maintenance. That is why we cannot change anything in terms of what is here. Not that,
Honorable Majake,
because this is a heritage site. The process regarding the modernization of the 4th Radsal remains in progress. We are compelled to halt the process in order to give attention to matters arising out of the tender process. While we are not pleased about these delays, it is always necessary to consistently scrutinize and monitor implementation and compliance with existing regulations. On Program 3, International Relations, Honorable Deputy Speaker, this program has not yet been incorporated in the appropriation bill. Therefore, its activities will continue to be funded under Program 1 in line with the provincial allocation. We wish to report under international work that the draft constitution of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, CPA, was considered by the Committee on Rules and Orders in preparation for the launch of the CPA branch. The CPA constitution provides, among other issues, clarity on the roles, rights and responsibilities of current members to the legislature, members of the executive and the associate members for their participation at all levels. These levels include the Commonwealth Women Parliament, which is CWP. We consider a launch for a CPA branch to be long overdue, and therefore the finalization of the draft CPA constitution was critical in taking matters forward. On Program 4, members and political parties support, we continue to provide administrative and financial support to honorable members and political parties as required by Section 16162 of the Constitution. The support is provided for under Budget Program 2 called Facilities for Members and Political Parties. This has also been aided by the introduction of the National Act on Funding of Political Parties. The Act came into operation at the beginning of 2021-22 financial year. In terms of this Act, members receive a wide range of support, including the performance of political work within their political party structures. Members are always encouraged to use the support given by the legislature to support and work with and among their respective constituencies. In this way, we can establish mutual trust and we can show compassion and humanity. Appropriation. Honorable members, the budget for vote 2 to be appropriated amounts to 270,120,000 rands, with a further statutory amount of 24,533,000 rands. Therefore, the total budget allocation amounts to 294,653,000 rands. This constitutes a 1.8% decrease compared to the previous financial year's allocation. Whilst I'm presenting the structure of the legislature's budget vote based on 3 programs and the allocation of funding and the allocated funding of such programs, I wish to remind the House of the revised budget structure comprising of 4 programs to ensure a more standardized structure amongst all legislatures and Parliament. With the support of Treasury, the additional program of international relations in the sector will be reflected in vote 2 of the legislature. The allocated funding per program is as follows. On program 1, which is administration, we have allocated an amount of 165,915,000 rands. The budget includes the Office of the Speaker. The budget includes of the Office of the Speaker, the Office of the Secretary to the Legislature, the Office of the Deputy Secretary to the Legislature, and Finance Division. On Program 2, facilities and benefits for members and political parties, we have allocated an amount of 60,271,000 rands. In terms of Section 1162 of the Constitution, financial and administrative assistance to each party represented in the legislature is offered in proportion to their representation to enable the party and their leaders to perform their functions in the legislature effectively. I am pleased to announce to the House that financial assistance towards parties within the provisions of Section 1162 have increased substantially during the final period of 2021-22 financial year. In order to sustain these increases, more funding will be requested during the adjustment appropriation scheduled later this year. These funds will be directed towards constituency, research, and office of the represented political parties. Political parties are expected to be more responsive by giving the necessary audience to the constituencies and submit constituency reports in terms of Rule 36 of the Standing Rules and Orders of the Legislature. Constituency reports must be debated in the House, and it is through these debates that members of the Executive Council are held accountable individually and collectively. Therefore, in order to give effect to the constituency work by members, constituency reports must be submitted for tabling in the House. We will take this matter forward regarding the process governing the tabling of constituency reports, as it requires our immediate attention without any further delay. On Program 3, honorable members, parliamentary services, we have allocated 43,934,000 rands. The purpose of this program is to ensure that the core procedural function such as Hansard, legislation and oversight, and legal services are catered for. On direct change, members' remuneration is budgeted at 24,533,000 rands. This allocation is aligned with recommendations by the Commission on Remuneration of Public Office Bearers. In executing this budget, we want to impress on the constitutional mandate vested within the legislature and the fact that we require a well-balanced budget to carry out the mandates of oversight, public participation, and lawmaking. Consensus was reached amongst the Speaker, the Premier, and Treasury that additional funding for the legislature will be required during the adjustment process. Among other things, is that the budget for broadcasting services needs to be redirected to the legislature. This will enhance compliance with Section 118 of the Constitution in ensuring that a regulated public access of the public and media is practiced in all our sittings. In conclusion, honorable members, in his musical eulogy called Biko, Peter Gabriel exalted a forte of human spirit using the death of Bantu Stephen Biko. The singer writes, I quote, "You can blow out a candle, but you cannot blow out a fire. Once the flames begin to catch, the wind will blow it higher and the eyes of the world are watching," close quote. If we haven't learned anything from history, we now know that divisions have only managed to tear us apart. Let us appreciate that we are better together, not apart, and not as individuals. Let Biko's spirit, our unity, like Biko's spirit, our unity must blow higher like fire and scald all petty politics. One of the key aspects of our work is that we need to rid ourselves from the spirit of self, whether from individual or political party point of view. Our analytical approach in serving the people and to solving the triple challenges must be guided by a sense of maturity. With so much technology today, no stage is too small. The eyes of the world are watching. We cannot always converge here to deal with concrete analysis of material conditions by just being purely partisan. Our people are not impressed by listening to us when all we do is to reject and affirm only by following a party line. Our people can see and hear that we are merely playing politics instead of working to better their lives. We need to start immediately to work better together. Let me thank all presiding officers and members of the legislature for their hard work. We thank our staff and management and under leadership of a secretary for their sterling work and their support to members of the legislature. I also want to thank my family and friends for their continued support. Thank you to Chapter 9 institutions and all our stakeholders. Thank you all for collaborating well with us in this past year. In 2022-23 financial year, we must be better than the previous years. Honorable Deputy Speaker, I hereby table the 2022-2023 financial year budget vote of the Free State Legislature. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The presentation by Honorable Speaker concludes motion 3. The Honorable Speaker shall now take the chair.
Honorable members, we now come to second and third reading of the Appropriation Bill B2-2022. Now, the Secretary shall read motion 4.
That leave be granted for the second and third reading of the Appropriation Bill before the House.
The Honorable MEC for Treasury, Honorable Brown.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I move.
Any discussion?
None.
Any objection?
None.
Approved. Honorable members, the question before the House is that the Appropriation Bill B2-2022 be read for the second time. I now put the question. Those in favor will say aye, and those against will say no. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. Motion approved. The Secretary shall read the bill for the second time.
Appropriation Bill 2-2022.
When does the Honorable MEC propose the committee stage to be taken?
Honourable Speaker, I propose that the committee stage be taken now.
The chairperson of committees shall now take the chair.
I wish to remind the House of the provisions of the standing rules and orders when the House is in committee stage. I wish to put the votes and the schedule of the bill, the clauses and the short title. And also in the event honorable members want to register their declaration on the votes of the appropriation bill, they must do so in terms of Rule 174, subsection 8 of the Standing Rules and Orders. I put vote 1 to vote 5. Any discussion? None. Any objection? None. Honorable Klute, Honorable Majake, Honorable Van Vieren.
Chair of Chairs, please lodge the objection of the Freedom Front Plus, please.
Thank you very much, Chair of Chairs. Please register objection of economic freedom fighters. May I hereby hand over the clause.
Honorable Van Vieren.
Thank you, Chair. Vote 1. The DA objects on the grounds that the Office of the Premier is not delivering value for money, which is visible by the general decline in service delivery in the Free State. The Premier's office is not a service delivery department, and the budget for this office is not justified when compared to the Free State legislature that has the constitutional mandate to do oversight over the executive. Vote 2. Free State legislature, the DA objects to the budget on the basis that the budget is not adequate to carry out the constitutional mandate of the legislature, which is to conduct oversight and hold the executive accountable. Vote 4, Treasury. The DA objects on the grounds that the amount allocated to the Department of Police, Roads and Transport is not sufficient, and instead funds allocated to the Office of the Premier should have been allocated to the Department of Police, Roads and Transport. Vote 5, Health. The DA objects on the basis that the 12.7 million allocated is only a marginal increase of 0.9% from the previous financial year. There are not enough funds allocated to administration, whilst there is a severe shortage of staff, especially professional staff, and 26% of the department's vacant position are frozen with no clear plan to fill them. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks very much. The declarations are noted. Vote 1 to vote 5 approved. I put vote 6 to vote 10. Any discussion?
None.
Any objection?
None.
Approved. Honorable Van Vieren, Honorable Klute, Honorable Majake.
Thank you, Chair. The DA objects to vote 6, Education. The DA objects on the basis that the 7.2 million budget is an increase of 6.2%, mainly as a result of the function shift of early childhood development from Department of Social Development to Department of Basic Education in the 2022-23 financial year. Yet the Department of Social Development's budget is decreased by 23%. There is only no clear plan on how to decrease the excessive school dropout rate of 42.5%, There is no clear plan to support and increase the safety of the scholars' transport system in the province, and there is no clear plan to increase no-fee schools in the province. Vote 7, social development. The DA objects on the basis that the 1.1 million allocated to social development is a decrease of 23% compared to the previous financial year. The MEC claims the failure to obtain a clean audit is as a result of the court order to pay Engo 91.5 million, and goes further to say that she cannot commit to a clean audit, albeit this was the result of refusal by the department to adhere to the court order. The MEC claimed the Auditor General's report is not correct, and she will interact with the AG. Until such interaction and outcome, we cannot support this budget. Vote 8, COCTA. The DA objects on the basis that the budget is insufficient to achieve the ambitious goals as announced by the MEC. These goals include increased support to our failing municipalities, including increased intervention in terms of Section 139 of the Constitution and Section 106 of the Systems Act. Monitoring on grant spending, driving local economic development, monitoring and implementation of infrastructure planning, monitoring and development of critical skills, and disaster management development. Additional support is also required for the reconstruction of traditional houses and traditional councils, including the establishment of the PICC support task team. This budget does not reflect our stated priority to capacitate a department which is critical to reviving our local government sector. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much.
Honorable Klute.
Thank you, Chair. Just that objection of the Freedom Front Plus. Thank you.
Why?
Thank you very much, Chair of Chairs. Please note the objection of the Economic Freedom Fighters. Whilst we were debating various departmental budgets, we raised our concerns, and it is on that basis that the declaration that we have submitted is having its content, our objections on each department except vote 2. Thank you very much.
Noted, Honorable Member. Honorable Van Vieren.
I'm sorry, Chair. I thought it's still vote 9, but it's still vote 10. Can I just give my objection by 10 also? I thought it was a mistake. Police, roads and transport. The DA objects on the basis that the allocated budget is not adequate to repair the large-scale roads infrastructure deficiencies in the province. Furthermore, contracts are awarded irregularly and continue for years without completion.
The objections noted, honorable members. The votes are approved. I put vote 11 to 13. Any discussions?
None.
On the objections?
None.
Honorable Klute, Honorable Majake, Honorable Van Vieren, in that order.
Please note the objection by the Freedom Front Plus, please.
Chair of Chairs, without sounding rhetoric, please note the objection of the Economic Freedom Fighters. Thank you. No, the contents are there in the declaration. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much. Honorable Van Vieren.
Thank you, Chair. The DA objects to vote 11, agriculture and rural development. The DA objects on the basis that the department is underspending on farmer support. It appears to have serious capacity problems that was evident with the inability to submit adequate business plans for disaster relief after veld fires to national government. The department continues to spend money on projects that have proven to collapse soon after the implementation. Serious questions remain over the department's spending on projects and infrastructure. Vote 13, human settlements. The DA objects on the grounds that this department has for many years irregularly spent its grant allocation for housing development and for informal settlements upgrade. Furthermore, the DA objects due to the terrible performance on housing development projects, which has left the Free State with 8,800 incomplete houses. The upgrading of informal settlements, which leaves little noticeable improvement, and the chaos with the delivery of the title deeds. While we welcome a 2% increase in the budget because of the massive housing backlog in the province, we are not confident that it will be effectively spent. Then, yeah, that's it. Thank you, Chief.
No, thanks very much. The objections are noted. The votes are approved. I put clause 1, definitions. Any discussion?
None.
Any objection?
None.
Approved. I put clause 2, appropriation. Any discussion?
None.
Any objection?
None.
Approved. I put clause 3, short title. Any discussion?
None.
Any objection?
None.
Approved. I put schedules. Any discussions?
None.
Objections?
None.
Approved. What does the Honorable MEC propose?
Thank you, Honourable Chair of Chairs. Honourable Chairperson, I propose that the House be informed that the Committee of the Whole...
Oh, sorry.
I'm not sure. All right. Okay. Chair, I propose that the House be informed that the Committee of the Whole House has approved the bill without amendments.
Any discussions?
None.
Any objections?
None.
Honorable Van Vuren.
Thank you, Chair. The DA objects to the whole bill. Overall, the DA objects to the appropriation bill for 2022-23 due to the illogical prioritization of the funds towards departments that have a poor track record of expenditure. Many of the concerns the DA has were raised in the previous years, but little has been done during the budget process to address these concerns. Thank you, Chief.
Noted. I will report to the House. I will report to the House that the bill has been approved without amendments. The Speaker shall now take the chair.
The Honourable Chairperson of Committees may report to the House on proceedings during committee stage.
Honorable Speaker, I wish to report to the House that the Committee of the Whole House has approved the bill without amendments.
Thank you, Honourable Chair of Chairs. Honourable members, the question before the House is that the bill be read for the third time. I put the question. Those in favour will say aye, and those against will say no. Those in favour? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. Motion approved. The Secretary shall read the bill for the third time.
Appropriation Bill number 2 of 2022.
Thank you, Honourable Members. Honourable Members, that brings us to the end of the business of the House today. Before the House adjourns, I wish to make the following announcements. That lunch will be served at whatever it is, food will be served at Fairview Conference Centre and Lodging, number 2 Fairview Street, Naval Hill, Bloemfontein, for members and guests. Honourable members, that brings us to the end of the business of the House today. The House shall now adjourn until further notice.
The House is adjourned.